Support local businesses with your vote when you visit 41ndc.com/awards2025. Thanks for supporting local businesses here in Newton, Georgia. Just 40 years. Don't waste my time. I'll find a person that you kill if you were built and got to it. Yeah, good fellas. Are you there? You are? Who make me angry? It's my show. Nobody cares whether you have a personality or not.
Good morning, everybody. We are waiting for Kristen, and I am hopefully in the agenda. So that should be. Do we have to move? Yes, I do have an email. Also,
Speech on. App YouTube. Close. Closing YouTube. Active minute. Zip me and the AI mute stop 6. Mute my audio. Speech off.
I got an email yesterday.
Sometimes they go to like junk folders. I will have to see. Are you on the? You're definitely on the mailing list, right? I think.
When did you think it?
Last night at like 7:30.
Okay, then.
I just got home from the hospital. Time about that time.
Is your text message?
Okay. I know.
I believe what you said. And then take. Oh, no, he wasn't gonna say that. I need a procedure the next day, and I'm not gonna be allowed to drive it. So I was gonna have to take it first. And then I get myself out. But the problem with that is, I can't bring my wallet, because without my so it's one of them. I think we my procedure yeah, I'm gonna have some what this
Mute my audio. AI comp 6 check 6 partic speech off.
everybody.
How are you today, Mr. Rockefeller?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm fine.
Good, good. Got your handle on the voting procedures yet?
Well, we kind of had a ceremony the last time instead of a lot of stuff. I'm pretty good on how it works. Having been a poll watcher,
Right.
a poll worker, and something else, yeah, and then doing all the count verifications at the end this year.
Right.
So I kind of see how it works. And I have instituted my own private rebellion. I've gotten my forms, I've requested. You're good. Income not being deducted for taxes. And then bank that money and save it till the end of the year. And some don't make it. Every year.
Good for you. Good for you.
We have the agenda for
Don't know if it
today.
does any good or not, but.
There you go.
Really many ways.
Good morning, how are you?
Hi, I'm fantastic. Kristen's on her way. She was on, she got wrapped in a call with the lieutenant governor
Were you able to get it set up?
Yes, will you, do you have Zoom on your phone so you can check, see if it works?
I think I do.
It's on my iPhone. I posted the thing on the Facebook group.
Let's see if I did have it ready still. I have it. Do I need to go to a certain address?
How you doing, Amanda?
I'm doing maximum cat statistics.
Do I need to join
You
something?
have to go to your, it's on YouTube as well. You
No,
search
no,
my
I
name,
just
Armando Viz,
may
it's
have
like 29
one
subscribers.
Okay. Do you know what the Zoom join is?
It's on YouTube. Well, my stream is also on YouTube.
Well,
so,
Harris.
Okay,
You search my name, Armando Viz or something like that.
on YouTube.
Yes.
You know the ginger?
Oh, wait, I do know Harry.
You do know him.
Search.
I guess you didn't know his name.
I didn't know his name.
He is all one word or two?
2 words.
Yeah, I can't believe he's been at our house for 3 months now.
Some kind of ad going on now. Armando Ayers. Why is it not? Search.
There she is.
ARM?
AMDO.
I need a bigger room soon.
All one word, Armando Ayers?
2 words.
No,
BIAS?
no, no,
Right.
if you need a bigger room, we would deal with that if we had to.
Yeah, that was.
Sorry for the delay, I told Amanda that I got stuff on, one of our candidates for lieutenant governor, and,
So now can I
I was in that conversation for that.
and, okay, there it is. Inactive YTC.
Yeah, well,
And then,
No, there's the other one. There's one that's like 29 subscribers.
so I have, okay, so I go subscribe to get it.
Go to, no, it has, it's my user handle is at Armando.
I found that. It says Houston County Democratic
Amanda, what can I
Committee.
help with?
Yes,
And then am I supposed to see video and
click on it, click on it.
that? Just a second.
In there's a subscribe button. You see
I
this?
already did, yeah.
And you click on the notifications.
I'm not sure if I did that, but it is chatting now,
Okay.
so just on there. Okay?
All right. Cool. Thank you.
You see, you got abilities I don't have. Talk me through that.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Right now, I'm ready to-
Hi, y'all. This is
52 days, right? So we're. We're not one right after that. Okay.
You got a lot of people.
The second page, oh, one has a very little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Ever the way.
Oh, no, I haven't, digital. I read it.
Oh, you read it? All right.
I do. So one back in 8 minutes.
Yeah.
I will be reading these.
Hey, Armando.
Oh, okay.
Is that it? 8 minutes?
And Susan, who else needs minutes?
Okay, I'm coming. All right, I'm bringing them.
Valerie. Oh, those were messed up because I was so excited and then.
Oh, didn't
Scan
scan.
the second size.
You'll be all right.
Oh, yeah, it's fine. Everyone needs to.
Cynthia,
Yeah.
Hey.
how are you?
I'm good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's good to see you.
Armando, do you want a copy of the print minutes?
How you doing?
Jeez, Zach, please look at
But
it.
I read them
Just
yesterday.
next
Hey, that was successful.
All right. So I'll put those right there. So then.
Yeah, yeah. I got you, I got you.
Okay, I think we're all settled. We're gonna go ahead and call the order. I know a long time. It's 10:43. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
There was two.
Okay, I can and make more copies.
Okay, well, that was the first one on the agenda, was call to order. Good morning, if you haven't been here yet, I'm Kristen Peter, I'm your chair. This is Judy Grafenreid, our first vice chair, Courtney Driver, our second vice chair. Susan is our member of the Board of Elections, Jeanette is our treasurer, and Armando is our chair of our disability caucus. This is Amanda, Secretary Lucas, who's gonna speak to you next for that reading in a minute.
All right, y'all, let me just read in the interest of full accessibility the minutes from January. Chair Kiefer called the January meeting of the Houston County Democrats to order at 10:38 a.m. In her officer report, she discussed the outlook for Medicaid expansion during Georgia's 2025 legislative session. It's not very positive. She thinks we may see the legislature put more money into mental health funding, however. In his report, first Vice Chair Judy Grafenreid talked about wanting to put together a written game plan for fundraising events and recruiting candidates for 2025 and looking into 2026. During discussion, Zaire Brown volunteered to be our communications officer, and Kiara Jackson volunteered to head event planning. Susan Lemmy, our representative on the Board of Elections, had not yet been sworn in, but she attended the BOE's January meeting. She reported that the main focus of that meeting was Centerville's special election for mayor. Centerville's mayor, John Harley, resigned in December. The qualifying period for the special mayoral election will be April 1st through 3rd. The election itself will be on June 17th. Early voting will extend from May 27th until June 13th. The primary election for Georgia's Public Service Commission will also be at this time. Guest speaker Fanika Miller dissected November's election by the numbers. Over 5 million Georgians cast a ballot. 63% of the state's electorate voted. Georgia was the only one of all the battleground states to increase its youth turnout by 7%. Overwhelmingly, Black and minority voters supported the Democratic candidate, but support for the GOP candidate did increase among Black men and women as it did among white men. Additionally, turnout among Black and minority voters decreased from 2020 levels. Youth turnout, which had been 29% nationally in 2020, fell to 23% in 2024. Fanika advocated for Democrats to be more proactive rather than reactive, saying that we need to be working year-round to help people connect their issues to the people pulling the levers of power. We can no longer afford to start our operations in August, and things are going to move the needle. Guest speaker Mike Jones, founder of Community Resource Network, CRN, a local nonprofit, talked about creating effective messaging and increasing civic engagement, both digitally and in our community. Jim Rockefeller addressed members regarding his concerns for the integrity of our legal structure under this administration. He also discussed the implications of tort reform. The secretary motioned to adjourn. Jim Rockefeller seconded the motion. Chair Kiefer adjourned the meeting at 12:26 p.m. And those were the January minutes.
Move to accept.
I second that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Yes, so,
In the future, oh no, I'll go along with it, it's fine.
you sure? Okay.
Yeah.
We can have discussion if we need to.
No, we're good.
Okay. All right, motion carries. Next up, we have officer reports. I don't have a lot to report, other than the things that we're gonna go over and some future announcements. I have continued to spend a good amount of time in Atlanta, at the Capitol, trying to influence our lawmakers to expand Medicaid. It's not going well, same as last month. A lot of it has to do with some concerns at the federal level, shakeups in healthcare funding, some serious proposed cuts that are very, very concerning. And we will talk more about how to effectively resist some of that action when we get to that point in the agenda. Gene?
Yeah, I talked about having a game plan this month, and I'm not quite ready yet, but I'll have it in the next few days. And I'd like to get together with the executive officers and walk through the plan, make sure before we bring it out to everybody else, make sure we buy in on it and it covers everything we need to do. So just basically talking about communications, fundraising, events, recruiting candidates, all the things we need to do. I think we need to do at least. And that'll just be a start, and like I said, we talked to the executive committee, everybody else will have the input, it'll be kind of like a living document, we're gonna make changes as we go along as we see fit. So it's gotta be something that everybody can use. That's about it.
Not from the treasurer seat.
Nothing to report yet. Gotcha.
I can do something later about what we look in DC.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Oh, okay. For the last,
You're the treasurer.
Yes,
And your name is?
at the December elections, December 21st, this is Jeanette McElhaney, if you guys don't know her, Jeanette is our new treasurer, we held officer elections December 21st.
Thank you.
oh, I'm sorry.
What's your name?
Jeanette,
Okay.
my last name is Michael Haney, capital MC, capital ELHANEY.
You're tired? Just secretary?
No, I'm the treasurer.
Oh, treasurer,
I'm your newly
okay.
elected treasurer.
Yes.
People like me playing with their money. Well, I'm also, for those of you that don't know me, I'll give you a little background. I am Jeanette Michael Haney. I worked at Robbins Air Force Base for quite a few years. I retired. I'm the secretary, I'm the treasurer, the elected treasurer for AFGE Local 987, which is the union that represents the employees at Robbins Air Force Base. I am also the secretary treasurer for the state of Georgia AFGE Central Labor, and I'm part of the Central Labor Council that represents 26 counties within the New Georgia area.
And I know your face, but I guess it was the meetings at the place.
At the union.
Yes,
You
that's,
see me at the union.
I know.
You can come out there, right now, you can come out there anytime except for when we're out. Like last week, we were, well, actually, we left last Thursday on the 6th, came back yesterday. We were in DC, we were meeting with the congressmen and the senators for the state of Georgia. And believe it or not, the people on the other side of the aisle did meet with us.
Great.
I will tell you that just because they wear the hat of the Republican, all of them do not agree with what's going on in DC.
Good to know.
Good.
Well, can I really finish? You know, we all know there are things that we should do, but we also know that there are things that some of us are afraid to do.
Right.
Because they're looking at their political future, they're looking at making a certain amount of time so they can retire. They do not want to go out looking like the bad, that they put them out.
Right.
But they are sharing information within their districts, and they're telling people what they can do to combat. You know, that's more than they've done in the past. So, you know, we'll take what we can get and we'll use it and go from there. But I will tell you that whenever your congressperson is in the district, you need to go to their district office. You know, you don't have to wait till they're there. You need to go to their district office. Whenever there's an issue that you're having, go to the office. I'm sure all of you in here know who your congressperson is. You don't?
I know. Sanford Bishop.
Is either Sanford Bishop or?
Yeah, you either have, if you're in the 2nd congressional district, you have Sanford Bishop. If you're in the 8th congressional district, you have Austin Scott. Now, all of us in this area, statewide, I'm sure you know who your state reps are because you just voted for them. So you probably should know those. But if you're in this room and you live in Houston County, you're either represented by Sanford Bishop or Austin Scott. And if you live in one of Robbins, you can have either or because we're split. You know, the way they drew the line, huh?
Yeah.
The way they, yeah, because of that G word. The way the lines were drawn, you might have had one the first time, and when they finished the line, you had the other. But I'm telling you, you need to know who your congressperson is, and you need to stay in contact with that local office. Know who those people are that work in that office.
So where are their offices for, there's a lot of new people in here and people we haven't seen a
Sanford
lot.
Bishop has an office in Macon. Austin Scott has an office, it used to be on.
It's on Bird Way.
Yeah, it's on Bird Way now,
It's still there.
yeah.
In
Well,
Macon.
In
No, in Warner Robins. Austin Scott's
Bird
in,
Way.
Yeah.
over off of Seagan.
Yeah, it's over off of Seeking right now,
Right,
those
okay.
office complexes.
Yeah, he has an office there.
There's
He has 3 offices, 2 in Georgia and 1 in Washington, and,
Well, actually, I think he has 3. Don't he have one in Tifton and one in Albany?
Austin Scott does not have one in Albany because he doesn't represent Albany.
Separate, Bishop has one, but I thought Austin had 3.
Austin has Warner Robins, Tipton, and DC.
Okay, well, he has those places. Well, and then you got
That's 3,
the expert
right.
right here too.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
3, you're correct, it's yes.
Yeah.
And so does Bishop. So you need to get to know these people locally, because like I said, you don't always have to go to DC to fight your battles. You can start right here. If you get to know the people that's working in the offices here locally, they can build help with you. Because like when we got ready to go to DC, we've had the interaction, so we contacted people here, and they assisted us with getting our appointments there. We were able to we have 15 representatives in DC for the state of Georgia. And we were able to go, we didn't see all of the congresspersons, but we saw both senators. And we saw people from the other people's staff. Even though some of them we had to meet in the hall, but hey.
You met with them.
And we left, and we had a prepared package that we gave each one of them. Yes, ma'am.
it would be great, I know I have all of their phone numbers on my phone. If, somebody would send out in the monthly email, that information of both all their addresses and their phone numbers, so that people can start calling immediately and start showing up at their offices.
Well, we can do that, but you know what? We can do that. I'm sure that can be done. But you can also Google them. Everybody in this room Google at some time or another. Most people do.
Most people.
Yeah.
But it's
And
easy.
you know what? That's something that we probably need to get used to doing, because a lot of stuff will come out and they will be asking you to reply right away. If there's a bill that Congress is gonna be voting on, you might get a blast asking you to contact your congressperson and ask that he or she votes one way or the other. So I suggest that each of us in here, if you don't have it, that you will Google your representative's place. Each of us in here, if you can't do it, you have a child, and I guarantee your grandchild can do it.
That's right.
And great
Yeah, and there's a website.
Yes.
It's on our, yeah, I think
It's on our website too.
I'd like to
Ask
hear,
that.
I'd like to hear
Wrote
your
down a note
opinion.
to make sure it was there.
I think it is.
I think it is.
Okay, we can have
Also
a
a
multiple
flyer
meeting, but we
for-
can't have a meeting within a meeting.
Yeah, we can.
Right.
And let's be
Silence,
respectful.
please.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd like your opinion on how effective it is to call your congressman. I did it the other day for the very first time,
Uh-huh.
and I was surprised that I got straight through to the office, and I talked to some intern probably,
It
or
was
our page, but the question is, I mean, I know they're being inundated right now, and I think that's a good thing.
It is.
So my question to you all is how effective do you think that is?
Incredibly so, and we'll talk about it in the agenda item about strategies for effectively combating some of the things that is going on, but, you know, I'll let Jeanette speak to that since the question was for her.
Well, yes, it is very effective, because with us, we do campaigns. We do letter campaigns, we do phone making campaigns, and when they ask you to do these letters, they'll send you out a letter. All you have to do sometimes is just sign it, and put your address so they can know that you're actually in the district. And if you don't wanna do it, we have taken letters from our fax machine and just faxed them. You crowd their box, they can't get nothing but your information, because once you get it started, it's gonna go till all of your information go through. Then can't nobody else get nothing in. But if you got 150 letters that you're willing to fax off, that makes a difference. And James is sitting on there, he'll tell you that AFG is literally always on that. You have a question?
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have interrupted. I just said we're living in bubbles, so we have to let them know they
Exactly.
exist.
And I will tell you, as of Wednesday, members of OPM, the VA, and Robbins have received their letters.
That was a virtual OPM.
Uh-huh, they received letters. And for those of you that didn't see the interviews that we've done throughout, they're telling people that they're offering them a buyout.
Right, yeah, well.
There is no
balls.
such thing as a buyout
Right,
if they can't tell you how much money you're gonna get.
right.
They haven't been able to tell them how much money they're gonna get. And as of when we left there yesterday, they don't have any money past the middle of March. So how can they pay you from now until September?
Right.
The reason they wanted everybody to take that buyout, as they were calling it, before, they wanted them to take it by February the 6th. They gave them an extension until February the 10th. those people will, their last check will come at the end of February, you know, cause you, how you get paid every 2 weeks.
Right,
So come March 15th,
they don't get no paycheck
they don't
probably.
have no money. So if you've taken that buyout, you have not taken a buyout, you have resigned from your job, and you don't have a job.
That's
And
right.
when the RIF goes into effect, that they are working on as we speak, because they've been working over our after hours, our hours of the day and night, to try to put it in order as to how they're gonna RIF people. That number of people that have taken the buyout, that resigned, it was at least 75,000. Not all of them came from Robbins, but it wasn't the number that they were looking for. So that's why they sent out letters to people that were on probation. Those people within the federal government have received those letters, and they told them some of them were no longer needed at the end of the day. Some of them were no longer needed. Yesterday was some people's last day.
My husband's coworkers got told 20 minutes before 4 o'clock that yesterday was his last day.
Sad.
May I speak on the legality of all this for a second?
Yes,
It's not legal.
it's not legal.
It's not.
So, in order for people to be paid a buyout, Congress has to have appropriated the money.
And they have not.
That money has not been appropriated.
Right.
So essentially what they're doing is reducing the workforce, because this they could do, which is to pay people who accept a buyout for not doing their job. But they can't replace that person, they can't replace the position, they can't give a buyout. I was in court on a matter, and a former client was in a grand jury room with me. And he's described what is going on, that they are issuing, go to work in place, you have to go to the job, and they do not have the facilities. They don't have buildings, they don't have computers available, they don't have desks. They have places that have been shuttered for 5 years that is full of mold, has mice, and all their critters, and completely ill-equipped. And they are reporting and sitting down in a chair and not able to do their jobs.
Some people are
These are-
taking lawn chairs and folding chairs to work with them
And
because
these
they don't
are,
pay to work.
and these are people that are maintaining our airplanes and other vital equipment that aren't able to do their jobs.
But when they were working from
I know
home,
you don't know.
but when they were
But do you
working,
think the chaos is the point, or do they not, they're not thinking past what they want?
they're not thinking past what they
Or
want.
is it, this is a strategy? I mean, are they saying, I don't care? Because I have a friend of mine, this is a friend, her son worked for X. And she said they had this,
Mhm.
and they signed it, this paper, okay? It didn't last but 2 or 3 months, the payout. It didn't last as long as it was supposed to. And if you looked at the paper before you signed it, it didn't promise.
Right.
It gave you what it promised. So you couldn't even go to court. So my thing, is this a strategy, or do you think, or both? Is it,
It's
the
a little
chaos
bit of both. The chaos is always the point, and we'll talk about that again in the next agenda item when we talk about, everything that's going on right now and how we can effectively resist it. But I also want to make sure that we're taking everybody else's comments as well. I'll start here.
You need to remember that you can't make a blanket statement in regards to anything that deals with RIF or the deferred resignation, because each organization can have exemptions, and they're handling it different. For example, the organization that I work for, everybody that's taken the resignation still has to report to work, because they have not figured out if they're getting an exemption, because the DOD is currently in the process of trying to get an exemption for certain organizations due to what work we do.
Yep.
So.
Right, but that does not apply to people that's on
Probationary.
Yeah.
probationary period. That doesn't apply to
But
them.
that's why I'm saying, you can't make a blanket
Right.
statement because it's all different, and some of us have our own exemptions that we're having to
But
fight.
the blanket
So,
statement is, they're saying that they're offering you a buyout.
I get that.
It's not a buyout, it's a resignation.
I understand that.
Okay, so that can be said.
that's it, okay.
All right, we got one more back here.
Just for information purposes, to back up what this gentleman here said about the lack of seats, Robbins itself was 1,200 desks shy. If all the telework, or people were teleworking came back, That's just Robbins, right? Pat had a lot more than other bases across the way, to just give you an extent of the, whatever you wanna call it, of this order.
chaos.
I mean, the chaos that created, Robbins was 1,200 desks, lacking when the order was put in place.
Because remember when they sent people home to telework, they also hired people. Then they came up with the hoteling situation, remember? You sat at the desk on Monday, somebody else sat there on Tuesday, and somebody else sat there on Wednesday. Well, if they're bringing all of those people back in, whose desk is it? And as far as remote workers and teleworkers, those are two different entities. And people that were working remotely, when they were hired as remote workers. They never worked in an office. They've always worked from home. So what office are you bringing those people back to? They never had one. They were hired as remote workers. So it's all of the little underlying things that you have to read and get. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Robbins
No, you're
gained
good.
about a couple hundred extra jobs were brought into Robbins during telework because people were working from home.
Mhm.
There's available office space, and then so they gave those to other organizations to come to Robbins, and then now,
Now they have no place for none of them.
yeah, the people who used to take those offices now are having to come back.
And the best thing, if it's not in the budget item, to purchase desks, they
You
can't
cannot.
provide the desks.
Yeah, to both of your points, like, yes, it is different in every organization, and it depends on whether you are a federal employee or contractor. You've got a lot of contractors as well, and also, they are bringing people back that don't have desks. Like I said, my husband, works for OPM. Luckily for him, he is on the contractor side right now. So when they got that return to office notice, their contract is actually negotiated as fully virtual for, the remainder of the contract term. So they didn't have to do the return to work, but on both sides, the probationary folks got cut. And then there's another person who, when you take a fully remote job, he doesn't live in Georgia. OPM's big office is in Macon, for you guys that don't know. That's actually one of the agencies where like the majority of the force is outside DC. So the big office for OPM is in Macon. And one of my husband's coworkers got hired on as a contractor, switched over to the Fed side. They were supposed to be remote, moved to California. And now that they have that return to work, like he's got to resign. He cannot obviously return to office and can't do his job from home anymore, and he's not exempt. So they've lost people that way, they've lost probationary people. Then there are also some loopholes where, like my husband is still at home, he didn't have to do the return to office because they were, their contract was fulfilled as remote, so. I wanna make sure that we give Susan some time to talk about what's going on at the Board of Elections.
It won't take long.
Go ahead.
Okay. We do have the Centerville election coming up. It's not the 1st through the 3rd.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's gonna be in early April. We have 3 candidates who qualified, on the election in Centerville. That's basically,
Wait, qualifying has not happened yet, correct?
qualifying has finished, I think.
No,
For Centerville, it
Okay,
hasn't
they're
started
still
yet.
qualifying. Okay, I'm sorry.
because I got a message that somebody was gonna announce on Monday.
Good,
Yeah,
good.
the
Okay.
qualifying for that is in April, the election's in
Okay.
June.
I guess some others have announced at city council meetings, and that's from that. There was a little question about the public service election that's coming up, because there's only one candidate, but that's still not totally decided, so I can't tell you anything about that till our next meeting as to what the issue is how that's gonna resolve, because there was some question about how the Centerville early voting was gonna take place if that didn't happen. So that was the only issue that really came up at the meeting. Otherwise, I was hoping Kathy would be here so we could applaud her for her years of service.
Yes.
They discussed with Kathy when to do a ceremony, and she had decided to do it at that meeting, which I had no advance notice
Oh,
of, or I would
wow,
have called you.
yeah.
Yeah, I would have called you about that. I'm sorry, Kristen.
It's okay.
But the 2 of our county commissioners came, the chair and one other county commissioner came to the meeting, and it was a very nice send-off for her. Her name's been added to a plaque of retired Board of Election members, and she was given a very nice plaque to take home with her. Yes,
And we will have something to honor her as well.
and I think we should, I brought something for her today, but she's not here today, so.
Yeah, I mean, we'll put together something other than, you know,
Yeah.
just recognizing you at the meeting. For y'all who've never met Kathy Shelton served as our Board of Elections appointee from the Democratic Party for 12 years. And she just recently decided that she was gonna retire from that, so that was when, you know, we appointed Susan. Kathy was phenomenal.
And from my understanding, as I described it, she was always in there because she just lived right around the corner. I don't live right around the corner, but I'm, you know, as I grow into the job and I get to know people and all that, I'll be more comfortable just wandering into the offices, I guess. But they still have not gotten all my paperwork straight, so I'm attending the meetings as a guest member, basically, until the probate judge gets the paperwork back from Atlanta and arranges
Yes.
to get me sworn in.
That is not on our end.
It's not.
We
It's-
submitted all of our paperwork to the Board of Elections. It's just a lengthy process. You have to, so like the Board of Elections has to get it from us, and then they have to send it to
The state.
the state, the governor has to sign off on it, and then it comes back, and the probate judge and the county commission, and blah, 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 blah. So we're in process, but, the paperwork was submitted.
I'm on the call the probate judge once a week and see what, and I'm lucky if I get called back, so I gotta keep calling, so.
Yes, sir.
Hello, I'm Mayor Miguel. It's my first meeting, but I've seen some news articles saying that people's votes were thrown out in some other states. That's happening.
Not, look, I've been involved in the elections process at every level since the new machines came in. A poll worker who was trained on the new machines and how they are assembled and how they're put up and taken down at every election and all that. I've been a poll watcher, which means that I'm watching for problems during both presidential and smaller elections. I've been now at the Board of Elections and watched the process after the election, like the hand counting of ballots and things like that. I've ridden in the car in the middle of the night to get the secure box out of the voting machine and to the Board of Elections, and to get it all transferred with the signatures of, you know, triplicate signatures and triple layers of protection. I would say it would be fairly, I think we are running a secure election, especially in this area, but I think in the state of
Our
Georgia.
county is super involved in our Board of Elections and our election protection. I can't speak to every county in the state, but there's a whole bunch of us in here. You serve as the legal liaison, but if you've ever been a poll watcher or a ballot monitor, raise your hand.
And if you haven't been.
All of us.
Get trained and do it.
We cover every shift at every precinct. We make sure so that there's someone here when the votes are being tallied. We also have our designated monitors at the Board of Elections to make sure that when votes are counted, they match the numbers that came from the polling locations. We're there, a lot of us served as recount monitors during 2020, so we were there during the hand recounts. Our county is uniquely involved in our elections, so, as far as, like I said, not every county's Democratic committee puts in kind of that much work, but we do.
Thank you.
We've got several liaisons between us and the Board of Elections and also the state voter protection program. We stay super involved. So well, our results were, we know ours are good because we were there when, the votes were cast and when we were counted. Everywhere else.
We can't speak to the
I
other
make no
places,
promises.
but we did a good job here. The concerns, and this is from voters and people I have talked to and my own observations, nothing through the Board of Elections. But my major concerns are access to the polls for disabled people and the equipment working correctly. Access to the boxes where people used to be able to submit their absentee ballots. And in certain areas of this state, and I've witnessed it in 2 different communities, police presence at the polling place when it's not really required or requested. I've experienced that in 2 counties. And in a way, and as a poll watcher, I reported it, that, you know, when there was a police car parked outside the polling place for 2 hours unnecessarily, you know, right at the door. I mean, why?
Right.
Right, yeah, and so it's, you know, you don't want intimidation of voters, you don't want things like that, and you do what you can to keep it from happening. But, in another county, they were literally standing at the door with their guns. And, yeah,
Well, I mean, they are, if you go vote,
you just go, I
if you
mean,
vote, no, if you vote at annex, you actually have to go through the metal detectors and the police officer to be able to cast your ballot, which is really annoying. Yes, sir.
My name's John Phillips. I'm a new guy. I've never been here before, so
Nice to meet
pardon
you,
me if
John.
I don't know the etiquette and the rules.
You're good.
Welcome.
I'm just curious to know how you people who've been doing this for a long time, how do you feel about people that are taking off the rolls who are legitimate voters? And do the votes that we do cast, are they counted?
Yes.
yes,
I mean, they count the Democratic votes as well as the other ones?
We're
Yes.
there to make sure of it. Like I
Yeah.
said, our
Okay.
county is very, very involved.
I wanna get involved. I mean, I'm an old guy, but I'm still new at it.
Yeah.
This is the
Old
first
is
time
good.
I've ever
That's
thought,
good too.
it's time that I got involved.
yeah,
We'll train you. We'll put you
Yes.
in.
I get Social Security and Medicare, and these clowns are trying to steal it.
yeah.
Yes,
That's
they are.
right.
Even though they say not,
And
yeah,
I better protect myself and people I know that I care about.
That's right.
So if I commit a faux pas, please pardon me, because I'm new at this.
You're okay.
You're good,
Okay.
you're good.
We're allowed to run, everybody's allowed to speak, we
I'm
don't,
illegally parked too, so if you see it, let me know.
we're good.
yeah, the parking's hard
That's
over
got
here.
my favorite.
Do we have any future plans for maybe expanding the parking?
Somebody said there's another good lot
Yeah.
just past this next building
It's on
over
the
there.
other side of that, there's
Yeah, the top
wing,
walk,
the wing
old top
place.
walk, yeah.
Over here?
Yeah, the other side of this building.
I think I better go see if I can find a spot over
Yeah, you're
Oh,
on, you're on.
there. Is it okay if I come back?
Yeah, I would say you pulled in.
I don't want my
you're
car
okay.
towed, I can't.
Where you parked? He's behind the building, you're okay back there.
You're okay.
It's
Yeah,
parked right, there's like a wire,
yeah,
Everybody
metal
else is back
fence
there
or
too.
something there.
nothing's gonna happen.
Okay.
You're good. I
All
parked,
right,
that
I'll
was
stick
me that
around
parked in front of the other one right in
But
front
for
of
the
you.
future reference, people that are used to it, if we would start parking over there, they'd leave that parking space for new people that do come in. You know, if we just start, because you just walk behind the party store, there's a
Parking
walkway
lot.
that
You say
says
it's that way?
right over there on the other
Yeah,
side
it's
of
the
the
next
party
parking
store.
lot over,
You
it
just
used to be
walk
top
behind
off.
it and come right in.
Okay.
Could I ask one or two more questions? Because I'm a new guy and I don't know.
Please,
How do I actually get involved and become active in this?
you just,
Right
you've
here.
done it, you're
What you were
here.
talking about,
You're here.
poll watching and counting votes, how do I do this?
Volunteer, and the poll watching,
Okay, who do I talk to?
Us, you're doing it right now.
Right
Like,
now.
we will start sign up
Okay.
for,
If you signed in, you're in.
You know, I didn't know you had to sign
Oh,
in.
yeah, you
yeah,
have.
sign it.
sign in, yeah.
That's the one rule.
If you're not on our email list, we'll send you, we'll get you the
Well, I
list.
do get email from you. I did get signed up for that.
Okay, great,
Good,
yeah, so
great, great.
when we need poll watchers, when it's time to start, you know, with training and signing up for that and everything, we blast that out to everyone, we also talk about it in our meetings and it's on all of our social media. So you won't miss the opportunity to, and if we don't have enough people, I will remember that you said this and I will call you.
Well, I view everybody here as caring about their country.
You do,
And
very
somehow,
much.
somehow if you ever donate money to a Democratic cause, you'll get on some mailing list.
It's not us, I wanna be clear that
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
not
us,
us.
the county Democrats doing this.
But I actually began poll watching before I connected with the Houston County Democratic Committee.
That's how I met you,
Yeah.
yep, you were at Centerville.
Yep, I actually got invited through other avenues of my contact with Democratic causes, Democratic Party causes. And then I found out about them.
I'm sorry, what?
Sign
Oh,
in.
sign in.
James.
Since Ms. Lemmy had just done her pole position for communication, would it be a good opportunity for him to just sit in on a meeting there, just to see the political process there?
The public is welcome to the Board of Election meetings. They're the
Yeah.
first Wednesday of each month at
Is it on Tuesday?
first, wait a minute,
Monday?
let me look at my calendar. I woke up confused this morning.
Because it's still Friday.
Yeah,
It's online.
I don't
You go
know
to
why I
board.
woke up confused. It might be the state of the country.
So we'll get that information out, and yes, those meetings are open to the public, and you can attend, and I wanna recognize
Yeah.
G.
I've been involved, with the Democratic Party here for several years. And I'll tell you what, our Board of Elections, Deborah Presswood runs a tight ship down there.
Yes, she
I
does.
mean, she does an outstanding job. With all the directions, all the things she gets from the state to do this, to do that, she's always up to the task. And I'll tell you, and even the Democrats working with Republicans go along pretty well down
Yeah,
there.
it's a great
So
board.
it's not a big knife fight with the House and County Board of Elections.
It's
We've
not,
got
yeah, we-
great leadership there.
Yes,
We do.
Right. It is the first Tuesday of each month at 5:30 p.m. at the little annex building that,
2030 Kings Chapel Road.
yeah,
Here you go.
2030, you know the address.
Right across the jailhouse.
I just say it's right next to the extension service office there and I always smell good food.
Right up the
As
street
far
from
as
prison.
people being thrown off the
Yeah.
rolls, your
So
question
next
about
will be on
that,
floor.
there's a process for people being removed from the voter rolls, and again, I cannot speak to everyone in the state, but in our county, when people are at risk of being
Yes.
removed, that entire process is carried out publicly, like you will know what what reason that they're contemplating removing them for, how long they have to respond to it, whether or not they've responded, they make all of that information public. So we know, and they provide the evidence to everyone that's in the room, so we can go, there was one, I think, that the person's voting address was not residential, it was a commercial address. And so the board went out and investigated, and, they took pictures and gave everybody in the room the address, and it is for sure not a residence, and then, that person also had, I think, like 30 days to respond to the letter and, provide their correct address so they weren't removed. And they go through all of that with you so that when someone is, eventually removed from the rolls here, it is for cause. And they also reject all of, I'm sure a lot of you have heard about, like, some of the groups that are submitting like mass challenges to voter registration, because that's the thing you can do now. Our county kind of just rejects those outright and says, you have to bring them back with a specific reason for each person and file them correctly. So those mass challenges don't really go anywhere here. If there is a reason to remove an individual, they will, but you do have to fill out the correct paperwork with the correct complaint with evidence that this person is, whatever. You can't just submit a bulk list of names. and
How
have
does
them look
one
at it.
get notified when they're removed from the rolls without knowing they've been removed?
So they don't remove you right away. You get a letter, I think they try to call you as well, and then you've got, like I said, X amount of days to respond.
But they do send a letter?
Yes.
To your last known address?
To each person,
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, they make multiple attempts to contact the person.
You can vote it for.
And you can always check your status
And you can
online.
always
Yeah,
vote
check
for
it.
Yeah,
no
I
ballot.
did that this year.
Yeah.
I was worried
We need
about
to
it.
move to accessories.
We are, I'm gonna recognize Carolyn, and then.
Just a couple of comments about that. There are some counties that get flooded with all of these things. They have now gone through the legal system, and they now have systems whereby if a group comes in and does these mass things, they can require that they pay for everyone they're asking to be.
Our county does that too.
So there are a lot of counties like ours that are doing a lot of work on this, so it's not just Houston County. The other thing is,
I will say there are some that try to send just a list of people they've pulled from the post office to our Republican members of the Board of Elections. Our Republican members are rejecting those emails, so.
the other thing is supposedly there were not going to be a lot of new things added that would make it difficult in the Georgia legislature this year. However, the Republican Party has submitted
A bill.
their priorities, and you can bet there's going to be some Georgia legislator that is going to be trying to push those through our legislature this year, making it more difficult, all the things like requiring paper ballots and so forth.
They're introducing a bill to take away the second Saturday of mandatory early vote. That's something else we'll talk about.
So we can, okay.
Yeah.
We just need to be aware that this is not gonna be an easy time. They're gonna be doing everything they can to make it more difficult. So maybe we need to get a little group that stays on top of that and gets the word out.
And it does make it more difficult on the local board of elections and more expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Many of these rules just are really, and it's sad because there are counties that do not provide the financial support to their board of elections that Houston County provides. They're understaffed most of the year and have to try to staff up. They don't have the position of board of elections head is, the registrar is a buddy system in some places. And a judge oversees the actual process, and so finding the boss is difficult sometimes. I experienced that in trying to get somebody's ballot to them in an election in another county, a past election.
Fortunately, that's not the case here. I want to make sure that we also give Armando, who is our Disability Caucus Chair, a moment to speak. The first meeting of the Disability Caucus is this evening.
Yeah. Yes, the first meeting of the Disability Caucus will take place at 5 p.m. on Zoom, since everybody can't make it to any location due to transportation and other stuff. I don't have the agenda in front of me, but all I can remember is the introduction, what this caucus will be about, taking any questions and other stuff. You can still sign up on Mobilize. If you would like a link to it, just let me know and I'll see what I can do. I can text you the link or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And also, the email address is a temporary email address. If you want to email me, it's under my website domain, but hopefully we'll get a Houston County Democratic Committee email address soon.
We're working on it. Oh, that means I gotta talk to you, Bill, by the way.
And also,
Go ahead.
I also asked Bill about getting a updated phone system. We use Google Voice right now, and I just what else? I don't know what else to say, but yeah. Hopefully our website will get more accessible as the days and weeks and months come as well.
Yeah, so the county party phone number is a Google Voice number. It's actually tied to my phone. Like we don't have a permanent phone line. Most counties don't. But that Google Voice number is set up because if we need to, if ever I need to, like I can have it ring to any of our phones instead of mine. So the number just kind of exists in perpetuity and has one of us to answer it. So that's not going anywhere, and we can't afford a phone system.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I will point out, somebody had asked what is one way to know when things are happening and what kind of stuff is happening. Armando's been keeping me on track this morning while my brain has gone into absentee status. Mobilize, and maybe somebody can explain what Mobilize is and how to access it, but Mobilize is where I first found out about doing poll watching.
It's a website, www.mobilize.us. All of you have signed up on things through Mobilize before. Most of you have, because you signed up to be a poll watcher or work a shift at the fair or whatever. All of that was on Mobilize. So if you go to mobilize.us, you can filter, it's all Democratic events, some nonpartisan. You can filter it down to your county level. You'll see our monthly meetings on there, and the Disability Caucus monthly meetings on there. We have social events, we put them on there. Once you sign up for a shift of anything or to attend anything on there, you are going to get an email every week that tells you where other things are in the county. So, or in the broader Middle Georgia area, and also about virtual events. So, Mobilize is great. And okay, so do that? What else, Armando?
Nothing else to say at the moment. And if people cannot make it to the meeting, a recording will be sent out through email. It's gonna be, also might be posted on my YouTube channel, so.
Okay, and if you will get that, the recording to us as well, we can include it in the big newsletter.
Yeah, I'll do that. This is the first meeting, so
Yeah.
hopefully, I hope it goes well.
It will, I think it's gonna go great. All right, so
I know you're gonna move on one quick thing, really compliments toward Secretary Rebecca Haney. Treasurer, I'm sorry, because of the other thing too, other job you started. The piece that y'all did on WMAT TV, you and I think it was Brown, it was you and somebody else, about the buyout, that was clarity for everybody. And I was so grateful that y'all did it.
It was actually myself and the national president.
I couldn't remember who it was, I know it was a guy.
The national president of AFG, who was in DC. Actually, we did that, we did it by Zoom. Because we were in DC and we did it with Hunter, what is his name? Hunter King?
Hunter King, yes.
Yeah, we did the meeting with him, but it was done by Zoom.
It was great, it was very informative.
Thank you.
He has another comment. Okay.
I've tried reaching out to House and Home Journal about my disability, about the disability caucus, but I haven't heard back, so, that's, I reached out last week and then forwarded the email yesterday and I haven't heard back, so.
not uncommon, that's okay. You know, they interview us when they want to, or they don't when they don't, so. We'll keep spreading via word of mouth and hopefully get a bunch of people involved in that, because we do want to make sure that, you know, we are keeping a pulse on disability rights in our county, because all politics is local. Okay, so we're gonna move on from this, conclude the officer reports.
Move to accept.
Second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, I'm gonna actually skip over the strategies for resistance for this moment, because I know we're gonna have a ton of discussion, and let Jim present on SB 68, and we'll kind of conclude with the broader discussion again.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Hopefully, y'all have not had to hire an attorney yet. But there's two ways that an attorney gets paid. Attorney gets paid by the hour for things like divorces, and attorneys get a contingency off of a result that someone gets if they've been harmed by someone, okay? Now, I do some personal injury and civil rights. It is not the main part of my practice. I'm a member of the Georgia Trial Lawyers Association and what is now the American Association of Justice, which is the national organization. I tell you that only because I'm telling you this, not because of my business. I do have a business stake in what happens with SB 68, but I'll survive. There are lawyers that might find themselves shuttered because of it. Why does that matter to you? This past Friday, Jim Butler got a punitive damages award against Ford Motor Company because they're building trucks that are defective and causing harms. So punitive damages is for intentionally doing so it was out of Columbus, which is the Middle District of Georgia, it's just the Columbus courthouse. How much money do you think court has to pay? $12.5 billion in punitive damages. 75% of that goes back to the state because the state gets an award for punitive damages, which are quasi-criminal, so it's like Ford's being fined. Trial attorneys protect your rights. They make sure that you're not ramroded by something or someone just not paying any attention.
Okay, what is SB 68?
I'm getting to that.
All right, just wondering.
Okay, so I was giving that as a preliminary so you knew. SB 68 is Governor Kemp's #1 agenda in this legislative session. He has threatened to call a special session just to deal with what he classifies as tort reform. SB 68 would essentially eliminate any lawsuits that a tenant to an apartment complex, or if you are frequenting a business, for their negligence. So for example, if you go pull off the interstate and decide to go shop and buy some gas, and the store you go to doesn't have surveillance, it's improperly lighted, the store knows, the gas station knows that there's crime in the area. By not having these things, the type of protections, maybe a security guard might be needed, by not having those things, that makes the gas station a hotbed of crime. And you go in and you get killed, and your family wants to sue over it. You're not gonna be able to sue the gas station. That's what SB 68 would do. It also wants to make it so that when you present a case to a jury about someone's negligence, like in a car wreck, you can't even argue about the consequences of the car wreck until closing arguments, which begs the question, how do you get the evidence to make the argument? But essentially, and the other thing it does, that's of your concern, is that you have medical bills and you are going to have to pay your insurance company back for anything that you receive as a result of the lawsuit. So your insurance company will say, hey, we paid $100 on you going to the emergency room. You had a $100 bill. We paid $60 on that. We have a subrogation issue, and we want subrogation, meaning we want to get back the $60 we spent. The law that's being proposed would require that you introduce into evidence only the $60 that the insurance company paid out, which is also what the insurance company wants back. So if a jury says, yeah, I'll give you $60 on medical bills, that goes in one door and out the other, and you as a patient don't get anything. So essentially, if SB 6, it has been improved, but if it passes, you will not be able to sue for a car wreck case. And if you get involved in a car wreck, you will go to the other party's insurance company and will say, I want to be compensated. And they'll say, we'll give you $10 of your medical bills. And that's it. And they'll say, if you don't like it, sue us. And you'll have nobody to sue for. So if you want to sue on your own behalf and bypass having an attorney, there's nothing for you to get, because all you're suing over is the $10 that you asked the insurance company to pay. So it will essentially eliminate suing over a lot of things that people sue over. And we protect you and protect your rights. Yes, sir?
Are we the first state that's trying to do that or has passed something like that?
The proposals that are being made are not the type of proposals that exist in other states.
Devil's advocate, what is the governor's position? How is he presenting this as something? Is he just for the businesses?
He is running around to the local chamber of commerces, and he's telling them, I'm gonna get you tort reform, give me money.
He's presenting it to his constituents as this will
Reduce your premiums.
this will reduce the cost of insurance.
Which will not.
Will not happen.
The last time that Georgia passed any type of quote tort reform had to do with medical malpractice and had to do with premiums that were rising for doctors. Guess what?
He's including that this time too.
For the
He addressed them as well as some issues.
Yes, but he's not actually doing anything that is specific to medical malpractice, whereas before they did. Guess what? Premiums did not come down. Yes, ma'am.
We had a conversation recently with Congressman Scott's office. And one of the things that we discovered was, we asked him when he was gonna have a town hall meeting with constituents. We were told that he's not thinking about that just yet because of what happened on January 6th, but that he will be having a business meeting with his business people in Houston County. That he will have. And he told us that he was very concerned about the safety because of January 6th. And I pointed out to his very nice receptionist, Elisa, who I'm getting to know on a first-name basis, gee, I heard that was a picnic and it was a lovely day. And everybody who came to the picnic has been alleviated of any things that they haven't done. And she said, I will keep that all in mind and pass that along to the congressman.
So the tort reform though is state, not national. And what you all can do is you can go to My Voter page. It's a website, just Google it, okay? You can find out, if you don't know, what the contact information is for your state representative and your state senator. Call them, because it's the phone calls that do matter. They don't care about emails, they care about phone calls. Phone calls from an attorney are not gonna matter unless it's in a lobbying capacity. And the trial attorneys are spending a lot of money lobbying this up in Atlanta. They acknowledge something is gonna pass, they'll try to make it as painless as possible. But that's how you make a bad concern.
Just to supplement what you're saying, for those who want to learn more about it, I saw on the agenda before the meeting started, I Googled it, just SB 68 Georgia. And there's a pretty good article by the MacArthur law firm that went over a lot, like more detail than I think you'd be able to go into today. So if you want to look more into it, MacArthur law firm, just Google SB 68 Georgia. And they do a pretty good job in like plain language, not legal language that you can understand of what it is, what it's not, and the effects of it, just for those who want to learn more about it.
The initial, I don't know what Kathy did in terms of when she wrote the article, but the initial proposal was more draconian than the one that they're talking about now. So that article may not include the fact that it's been changed to be made better. It's still being discussed. There are a lot of, it's not something that's going to pass. There's a lot of opposition among Republican senators and representatives. So it is something that lobbying will matter, even though we have Republican senators and representatives, so many of us do in this area, so.
Okay, so that's www, my voter page?
Yeah.
And
I believe
And
that-
it's gonna tell us about.
I think it's .ga.org.
My voter dot-
You know who you are.
it's MVP.
MVP.sos.ga.gov.
Right.
Okay,
It's your,
repeat, please. Will you have that in a minute?
yeah, it's your Secretary of State website, and you go to My Voter page from the Secretary of State's website.
Where you look up your voter.
Okay,
If you
that's
just
go to the
Google-
Secretary of State page. Okay, got it.
If you just Google My Voter page, Georgia,
Right.
it'll
pops
take you
right up.
directly to it.
I read something recently, I don't know how I got on a Republican mailing list, but I'm on one.
Easy.
And I get all sorts of credit from them, but there is a state rep in the state of Georgia that is talking about doing a town hall, specifically to talk
That's
about
in
this
Wellsboro.
SB
That's
68. But because he's not my actual person, I was like, yeah, whatever. But they are, some of them are having them, and he is a Republican. And so I'm wondering if we could do a bigger pressure
Some of
on
them
Austin
are-
Scott
are
to have one.
Austin Scott is not a state rep.
I know, yeah, I meant.
Shaw Blackman would probably, you could call Shaw's office and don't even have to run a pressure campaign, he'll talk to you.
Okay. But I thought, it's weird, I'm on
So
this
this is a
list.
Senate bill though.
It's currently a Senate bill working through committee.
get
It
to
will,
us.
to get to the House. There is, I think, a parallel proposal that's being discussed in the House. And there's some issues with competition in the language between the House and the
But our
Senate.
first line of it should be to call our senator, our Houston County senator.
I would call both.
Vote, okay. Then I wrote to the representative.
They're not gonna, I have written also, they're not gonna pay that much attention to
Well, I'm
anything.
always, when I write, I follow up with a telephone call. So,
Aren't there two state senators that intersect in House County?
well,
Yes, David Lucas and
Oh,
Larry
Larry
Walker.
Who owns an insurance
And for some
company,
people,
by the way.
John
Yeah,
Kennedy.
Harry, yeah, right?
He's one of the sponsors of the bill.
Well, what about that Kennedy guy? Talk about
John
him.
John Kennedy.
Does he
somebody-
represent some Houston
Yes.
County?
Yes, that's what I just
Yes.
said, he's in District 18, so we're in
I'm in
18,
18.
20, and 26.
I'm in 18.
Thank you for your time, everyone.
All right, thank you, Jim. All right, the only new business I've got is, not next month, because we have to give you 45 days notice. But at the April election, or April meeting, we will hold elections for additional post seats. There'll be 5 at large, and then any that are vacant, which I think there are 2. So anyone that is anyone in the county that professes to be a Democrat is eligible to both run in and vote in this party election. Our post seat holders are our voting members of the county commission. So you've got your officers, and all of us are post seat holders. And then there's a broader group of post seat holders. There are a total of 14 of us, I think. And those are the people that vote on, for example, who the officers are, how the committee spends money, how, if you'd like to be a voting member of the county committee and, kind of help take on some of the responsibility of running the party, we would love to have you. So mark your calendars for our April meeting. That is when we will elect post seat holders.
Also, I'd like to add, you can really only be an officer, run for office, if you are already a post seat holder. So if you would please consider stepping up into leadership in the next 2 to 4 years.
Please.
The first step is to actually run to become a post seat holder.
These are 4-year terms, by the way, so our post seat holders are elected in presidential and gubernatorial years. They're split. Because we're adding more positions this year, we can hold elections for additional positions or vacancies at any time. No one who is on either the presidential or gubernatorial cycles seats are affected by this. We're just adding more seats and trying to fill the empty ones. But yeah, so they're 4-year terms that you serve as a voting member of the party. And
They are designated precincts though, right? The ones that are
these
coming.
will be at large, and then there are, I think, 2 precinct seats that are vacant right now. Mossy Creek and the other one for Wellston and North Houston Sports. But the at-large seats, you don't have to live in a specific precinct to run for. Anyone can run for those. All right. It's the only new business I got, so we will move on to our broader discussion.
And
Yes.
We have a wonderful young lady here from the Young Democrats.
We
Could she
do.
fill us in on something that they're doing or tell us what they're up to? If she's willing.
Kira is always welcome to be on the agenda. I can also tell that Kira has a migraine because I know her.
Oh, okay. All right, well, we'll let her, she can update us later if she wants to.
yeah, she didn't expect that.
I'll make my comments brief, very brief. Good morning, afternoon, it's not good morning still, good morning, everybody. I am Kira Jackson, I currently serve as the president chair of the Houston County Young Democrats, National Committee Representative for the Young Democrats of Georgia as well. And I'm honored, of course, always to be in community with the Houston County Democrats today, so thank you all for opening the doors to Young Democrats everywhere. Couple things that are just at the top of my mind. I am trying to work through a migraine right now. Today, the Black Caucus for the Young Democrats of Georgia is going to be hosting an event in Atlanta. It's a legacy in leadership mixer / panel to highlight historic figures, African American figures in the political movement. So that's something I'll actually be on the way to today to learn my hosting talents and just to be in community with other Young Democrats. Also, our legislative day at the Capitol is going to be on the 28th. It's going to be a full comprehensive day from 9 o'clock a.m. to 3 o'clock p.m. We're going to be giving tours of the Capitol, speaking with our legislators, laying out what our agenda is for the remainder of the session and the year. And of course, we're always opening membership up for other Young Democrats, ages up to 40. I want to say for about 40.
But people that are not Young Democrats can come and come attend your lobby day as additional allies or volunteers, correct?
Absolutely,
If you've never done a lobby day at the Capitol before, and you can make it to theirs, you should go.
And what date was
The,
that
the
again?
28th, last day, or last, what, Friday? Friday of this month, I think it is. Forgive me again, I'm a tizzy right now, but the 28th for sure, 9:00 a.m. to 3:00 p.m.
That is an incredibly influential day to press your lawmakers for things. It is the last legislative day before crossover day. So any legislation that is going to move or that you don't want to move, this is your last day to go. Talk to them about it before it crosses over to the other chamber and has a chance to pass into law. And they will teach you how to, walk through that process, talk to your lawmakers, what things are important to Democrats right now, and a bunch of the Young Dems leadership is on staff in some of our Democratic leadership's offices, so they just really have the best information to guide you through the Capitol.
Absolutely. I think I'll yield the rest of my comments to you, Chair Keeper, and take questions as well. Armando?
I'll be heading to Atlanta Tuesday night. I'll be going to the Capitol Wednesday morning for a reproductive justice advocacy day. It's by Spark and Amplify Georgia, I believe. So it's gonna be my first time going to the Capitol next week.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your commitment to advocacy. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
I yield. Thank you all for your time. Thank
I
you.
will be there on February 25th for Black Voters Matters Advocacy Day. February 25th, yeah. And, oh, awesome. So, yeah, next week is, and I can't go to that one because I will be on my way to Memphis, but, yeah, announce that one.
Yeah, the Georgia AFL-CIO Legislative Training Rally Day will be on Wednesday, February 19th. And they will also be going to visit the representatives for Lobby Day.
In Atlanta.
From a strategic standpoint, can you, if you wanted to go, where would you park and where would you show up?
Well, for the one that I'm talking about, you will go to the IBEW building and you will park in that parking lot and they will transfer you there. So you can contact me.
In Atlanta?
Yes.
Crystal?
Parking around the Capitol is very challenging. I would look up public parking around the Capitol before you go.
Yeah.
So the most common place that people park when they go to the Capitol for an advocacy day is the Pete Hackney parking deck, and the Pete, it is a walk. It is that's not really a disability friendly option.
Right.
If you have mobility issues, I recommend parking somewhere else and taking an Uber up and having them drop you off outside.
Is there a MARTA station there?
Yeah.
There is a MARTA station nearby as well.
But it's not that close. There's also parking right across from the Capitol.
It's
There's almost always full. Yeah, but it's closed right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Georgia Freight Depot's parking lot is closed by, but they have it blocked off right now.
Well, we were there last week,
The Freight Depot's parking
Yeah,
lot.
because that's where they had the firemen, they had a recognition of the Georgia firemen. And they had an event at the Georgia Freight.
Yeah.
And we were able to park in that parking lot.
Okay, yeah, the last time I was there in January. for an
No,
event,
we
and
were
then-
there, not this, last week I was in DC, the week before that, we were at an event there, because one of the young men from Macon got to be fireman of the year.
Awesome. Well, I stand corrected. In January, it was blocked off and they were having us park in the parking deck.
How would you know how to meet up with people? Like, where would you meet up? Oh, I wanna go do this. How do I know where everybody else is gonna be?
Here, what room are y'all meeting in that day? So when you get invited to these events, there's always a room number on there. The beginning number corresponds with the floor number, so if it's like, for example, I did another lobby day this week and I did one the week before last. So we were in 216 for one, that's on the second floor, it's room 216, and then 230 for the next one.
206.
And they're gonna be in 206. So you'll show up at the Capitol, go, through security at the backside, and remember your ID, you have to bring some sort of photo identification with you to get inside the building.
Yes.
You'll walk through.
Just like going through the airport.
Just like the airport, but kind of a little bit faster.
You have to take your shoes off and stuff?
No. You have to empty your pockets and walk through a metal detector, and then Georgia State Patrol is there to check your ID. Okay, so I want to go ahead and get started on our resistance strategies conversation, and here is better organizer than I've ever dreamed of being as far as resistance movement, so feel free to chime in at any point in time. We've got this big piece of paper here. One of the things that I've noticed that we've got going on right now, and it's to your point earlier, so part of the purpose of throwing all of this out there, some of these executive orders and everything at the federal level, is to distract. Most of these executive orders that have come out so far, they're not legal, right? The judges are overturning them. So what we're seeing is a lot of people panic, right? And it's the strategy, and pardon my language, Ms. Avalon, plug your ears. The strategy is called flood the zone with shit. That is something that the Republicans are great at, is putting a bunch of things out there all at once to overwhelm, so that you are not able to effectively organize and resist any of the things that they are doing that actually matter. It's designed to make you not pay attention to your state legislature, which is in session right now, and makes the laws that very much matter to your day-to-day life a lot more than any of these executive orders that are not going to stick matter. So I've kind of seen, a lot of, broadly, like basically chaos. Like I'm seeing us respond to exactly what it is they're trying to do. And a bunch of like random pop-up protests with no clear purpose, scattered advocacy campaigns, but no coalition building. Like we are doing exactly what they want us to do right now. And so that's, when I kind of saw that happening, I was like, oh, it's time to take a step back. We need to regroup. We need to talk about what does work and what doesn't work, what we should do, at what step in the process is a protest even warranted, where you should have that protest depending on who you're trying to reach. But I figure we will start with, I'm gonna be over there. I'm gonna kind of write down things while we're talking. But I've also got this big sheet here, and if anybody would like to, or if everyone would mind coming up and putting down what thing is first and foremost on your mind right now. Because after we discuss, what we can do and what we should do, we'll set up some days of action so that we can all collectively work on these issues. All right?
Oh, I have one quick question, I forgot.
Sure.
I came to about this SB 68. Okay, what's the time frame we have, the limit that we need to reach out and contact them if we want to bring about a change? No?
Now,
but, I mean, like, first of all, you gotta formulate first of all, I gotta formulate, read about this thing and formulate my mind, what action I'm gonna take.
Well, the reason I'm saying now, because it has to be done before the session ends, and the session only goes.
April 4th. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, April 4th. So
Yeah,
like,
you need to do something by March, middle of March, at least, because April 4th. Might be too late.
Yeah, ideally February 28th before crossover date.
Before crossover.
Yeah, I think you need to do it now.
Yeah, that's
I know now, but I need a time frame, like I said, I got to formulate my mind, so.
Crossover date is the 28th.
So
Before
28th
March
February.
4th. And the sooner the better.
They're debating the legislation now.
Yeah.
So you said call our senator?
State senator, state representative.
Okay.
I know, I just looked up while we were speaking, and I sent everything to Ballard, all the emails and information on the senators, representatives, and whatever, while everybody was talking. So just, if we get to, some of the tax information and that list, they could just email it to us, and we can start calling today.
Yeah, if anybody wants to do it today, I would like to get with y'all today, and, say, weekends are my only time I can really do stuff.
yeah, okay, so to find out who your legislators are, you're gonna wanna go to this website. It's mvp.sos.ga.gov. You can find your elected officials from the city level all the way up to the federal level here. So make sure you're checking that, and that will give you, you'll be able to then, you can go to the Georgia General Assembly's website, just type in Georgia General Assembly into Google, it's the first resort, the first result. And you can go to either the House or the Senate, or both. Click on your lawmaker, find out the name of their staff person who works in their office, their capital office. We're talking state legislators now. what the phone number is, what the mailing address is for that office, and all of that good stuff. Some of them have a specific district address and an Atlanta address, but like, for example, if you go to look up someone like Shaw Blackman, his district address is a PO box. But he is fairly easy to, he's also a local business owner, so you can just call him, and he actually will meet with you. He's actually better about meeting with constituents. Whether or not he's listening to you, I cannot promise you. He hears you. He is willing to hear you. Whether or not he takes into account your thoughts before he votes is Shaw Blackman. He represents most of Bon Air, or all of Bon Air and part of Warner Robins. That's one of our state legislators that, he's actually a fairly influential one. He's the chair of the Ways and Means Committee. We can talk more about what that means, at a different time. Anyway, a good person to express your feelings to, because he actually does have sway over the legislature. Sorry, I cannot promise you will move, but you should do it. Sometimes he moderates his positions. Armando, did you have a question?
One other issue right now is the Section 504. It's being sued by 17 states.
That's a federal issue, and we'll talk about how we can do some state level advocacy and some local advocacy about that as well. One of the issues with closing the Department of Education is that there's something called like a 504 waiver, and it's a IEP. Basically, it's accommodations for students with additional needs. And those plans are drafted at the beginning of the school year, or periodically throughout the year alongside parents to make sure that those children are getting the learning resources that they need. Abolishing the Department of Education would do away with 504 plans, or would do away with the federal necessity for them. So my suggestion for all of you who are concerned about 504 plans going away is, and nobody's going to want to hear this, but I'm going to tell you that the first answer is always start local. Start with a phone call. Call our local Board of Elections and ask them what they think about it. We have 2 at-large members.
Board of Education.
Board of Education.
Board of Education, yeah. Board of Education, sorry.
But elections doesn't hurt either, they have to pay attention to the
Call our local
equipment.
school board and ask to talk to them about it. Ask them what their contingency plan is if that goes away. How do they plan to make sure that the students in this county still get the services that they need, right? And they might tell you that you need to talk to the state, and then you go there. And move on. You can also call your congressman's office and tell them that you're opposed to this, to this issue.
More importantly, if they eliminate the Department of Education, they eliminate the funding for the 504 plans. So a number of the teachers and support staff in this county are paid for through grants through the 504 basically money that's available.
And our state is sitting on like a $16 billion surplus right now. So you're gonna wanna ask the school board to, what they plan to do about it and have them, and you also contact our state legislators and say, the purpose of your state lawmakers is essentially to draft the budget. Like that is their job every year. You wanna talk to them about where the funding to replace from that federal program is gonna come from. The state of Georgia has it. And you wanna make sure that you're letting them know, I need this money to go into education. We have, every year, right now, because of the financial position the state is in, 50% of the taxes that we pay are going into a rainy day fund. They're excess. They're not used to cover state expenses. It is piling up. Like I said, Can you guys release the new number? No, it is the state's fund. It's $19 billion in excess revenue the state has right now.
But he's giving out a lot of it. He personally is making sure that a lot of that money is going to people.
He has budgeted expenditures that account for, I think, maybe 3 million or 3 billion of that this year. But the state revenue is also projected to put that right back. He's not really, yes, he is giving some tax rebates. And we all know what the purpose of that is, but I don't think anybody minds getting that back. So anyway, so we're going to talk about, and I'm going to reference specific examples that I have seen amongst ourselves I don't even remember who posted it, so I'm not picking on anybody, I'm not, let's just talk about what makes a good protest. The first thing, so you see a flyer in our group, right? Meet at such and such place at such and such time. How do you know whether or not this is a good thing to attend? The first question should always be, who? Who is hosting the protest? Every flyer I've seen in our group recently does not have a sponsor, an organizer listed on it. Red flag. Who is organizing the protest? What is their experience with organizing the protest? And you know, keep in mind that I am, some of these protests that we're seeing popping up are in Atlanta, right? Like, are we gonna run into this much trouble locally? Probably not, but if I'm gonna tell you how to protest safely, we're gonna talk about it for real. Okay, so who is organizing it? Have they ever organized a protest before, right? Next, for legitimate protests, you will see exactly who the organization is that's hosting it and, you know, what it is that their platform is. So, like Middle Georgia for Choice, for example, when they organize in like a reproductive justice protest, it says Middle Georgia for Choice. Contact this person, right? So it's got the agency, a contact person, and exactly what they're asking for. That is an important thing to remember when you're thinking about attending a protest or, you know, engaging with one or setting up one yourself. Well, what is your ask? So you need to know exactly who it is. They need to give you some indication that they are experienced in this. And you need to be able to trust that person. Are you going to be willing to take direction from this person? Because that is, if you show up to a protest, you should be following the direction of whoever the organizer is. And if this is not someone whose direction you are willing to take, keep that in mind. If you do not fully agree with whatever it is that you are protesting about, don't go. Make sure you know what you're protesting for. I've seen a lot of, again, vague ones show up like, let's resist fascism. Y'all, old man goes outside and yells at clouds, is what that is. Like, we are not, what? What are we protesting for? Who are we asking someone, what are we asking of them? What is the end result that we expect to see from that action? These are important things to remember when we're talking about actually going out and engaging in protests. What we don't want to do is, one, burn ourselves out. It's going to be a long 4 years, and there's going to be a lot of crap in the zone to respond to. You know, I talked to one of my counterparts in Macon-Bibb County not too long ago, who was, you know, very upset with the passage of the Laken Riley Act, right, at the federal level. And, you know, we started to see, and in the executive orders that came along with it, and the actions that we were starting to see be taken against the Hispanic and Latino community. And she called to ask me what was the Democratic Party's position on all of this, and like, do we have a statement? One, that's outside the Democratic Party of Georgia's purview. That's a federal bill. My one checks DNC. Two, they wanted to set up like a phone bank, calls to their local lawmakers, to their mayor, their city council, their sheriffs, to ask them to refuse to comply with ICE. Lovely thought, in theory. But Georgia passed its own Laken Riley Act in 2024. It is actually illegal for your local elected officials to resist, and they can be held personally and as an elected official capacity. They can be liable in two separate capacities and go to jail for refusing to comply in those situations. So calling them and asking them to resist is an exercise in futility. I saw someone else post, you know, blow up the governor's office and tell him to, you know, to defy the Trump administration in their executive order. He can't do that. He signed into law the bill that made it so that he could go to jail if he does that, right? And that was last year. So when we're thinking about these movements, we need to make sure that we are not just like bandwagoning, jumping on this because it just came up, right? And rushing into something and wanting to one of the second most important things that we can do is build coalitions. If you see something come across your feed that is a new area of interest to you, the first thing that you want to do is look it up and see who's already doing it, because I guarantee you that someone is. Every movement is stronger when there's more of us in it. So what I suggested to her was, one, we have several Hispanic and Latino justice organizations in the state that have been doing this work for years. Let's reach out to them and see what it is that they need, so that we can amplify the efforts of the people who are experienced in this work. Two, we can go to the International Immigration Legal Rights Center, and they provide resources. It's called a Know Your Rights card. It's a red card, and it's got instructions in English and Spanish of what to do if you're approached by law enforcement. And not legal advice, but it's a good step. Like ask for an attorney. Don't present anyone fake documentation. And the common sense, basic things. That resource is already available. We don't have to reinvent that wheel. What we can do, what I ended up advising them to do in this situation, instead of kind of spitting out, burning the energy to put effort into something that's not possible, was to, one, connect with your local community, two, connect with your statewide organization, and what they ended up doing was going out in community, printing those red cards and going out in community and distributing those. That's something helpful that you can do right now to protect people in your community. And that is something that's a tangible effort. We also saw some of our local communities organizing. You had some people. And Georgia's law is much more stringent, by the way, than the Laken Riley Act. Georgia's law allows for citizens are not to be detained without reason until they can be checked, right? So we've actually seen a lot of U.S. citizens be picked up and be detained for a couple of days until they could run them through immigration. It's not good, right?
They're being detained for being brown.
They are being detained literally just for being brown. Georgia's law makes that, it is legal. You can look it up. It is.
Or speaking Spanish, I have a friend of mine told her son that.
Spanish speakers are getting picked up left and right, whether they are legal or not. This Know Your Rights information is important. We've got people who are afraid to leave their house. And so one of the things that was done and can be done for our local community is another important point, is mutual aid. If they're afraid to leave the house and they can't go to work, you know what might be useful? Groceries. So they need somebody to go to the grocery store for them. Does somebody need to provide transportation to and from school? Anything you can do to actually make a tangible difference in the lives of the people around you is good. So we focus also on building out our mutual aid networks and building out our coalitions. All right, so let's say somebody had their hand raised. Here.
I wanted to add to what makes a good protest, having outlined outcomes or what your goals are. What is the purpose of us having this protest? What do we want to accomplish by doing this demonstration?
So for example, this afternoon, there is a protest at Austin Scott's office from 3 to 5. That is organized by some of our local high school students. Originally, they had the location of the protest as City Hall. And the ask was very vague, I think was resist fascism. I was like, what does that mean? What is the city government supposed to do about it, right? When she and I were talking through that, she was like, oh, yeah. And I was like, so the city actually called me and was like, we're in the same boat with you guys with these executive orders. Like, we're terrified. Why are we protesting us on a Saturday? We're not even gonna be there. If you want to protest something having to do with the federal government is the place to go with that. City Hall is just as terrified of all of these executive orders as we are. So what? And there should be very clear outlined asks. So when you go out there to that protest today, we just talked about the town hall situation and how he's not having one. Fun fact, Austin Scott has never held a town hall, not once. He's been in office 14 years and some change.
maybe
No,
once
that's not fun to say.
his first, after he first got elected.
No, it didn't.
So we put up with
He's,
There was
he's
a-
literally never
there was
held
a
one, he says
meeting
town
with-
halls aren't his thing.
The sheriff was, well, there was a meeting at Hospitality Commission's.
But that wasn't a town hall.
And
That's not a town hall.
all right, but that meeting, there hasn't been a meeting like that since then.
But I'm saying if it's a town hall, it's a place where it's open, people can go. It's not inside of the building where only the county commissioners and that little select group is gonna be there.
There were people from throughout the state that were there, but there was.
Only X number of people can get in that county, get in the county commissioner room. A town hall, you can have as many.
Maybe he
There were
comes.
very active people from Atlanta that were there, so there was, that's.
Maybe he comes at this.
But it's not the first.
Good, thank you very much.
Okay.
But that was prior to the.
So that should be one of your asks. One, like, think a specific thing that you're asking them for. Are we asking them to, you know, intervene on behalf of the federal workforce? For example, 6% of Austin Scott's district, 6% of the workforce in his district are federal employees.
Top 7 in the nation.
Top 10 of the nation. It is, that is a very pressing concern. So when we're asking him to go in and push back on this, we need to have those specific asks. And if we're gonna go in and talk to Austin Scott about the federal workforce, we need to make sure that we've built our coalition and we're taking our subject matter experts with us. Or that we are following their lead in that movement. So we would go to AFGE and say, hey, what's the most effective way for us to talk to Austin Scott about this? And then when that fails, you wanna set up a protest. Now, the protest this Saturday was not set up, you know, in phone, but we moved it from City Hall to over here and we're making a point, right? So there will be signs, people are gonna leave letters for Representative Scott. He's not there today, obviously, knowing this, but, just a lot of people are wanting to get out there and get that energy
It
out.
lets people know that you're not alone, how you think. When you see those signs, you say, oh, there's somebody else who thinks like that, especially in this area.
But at the same time, like, we need to, again, we need to make sure we're corralling our efforts into something that are, useful. So what, right? And then you also need to know, what are we protesting for? Who's hosting? What is the?
What do we want? What do we want?
They had a Latino one. I got invited. I didn't know what the heck they were.
It was just a visibility rally.
Right,
Not
right.
really a protest, yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, I just-
You know, visibility rallies can be good, but again, at the end of the day, we were visible and that's good, and we had a visible show of support. But what if we combine that with an ask, with a task? And we also had a spokesperson from that community who could lay out those tasks for us to media, like we saw with the coverage from AFGE. Like, they didn't just show up en masse, they showed up en masse with knowing what they were talking about and with specific asks, and then followed up on it with, you know, going back and asking where we're at with getting those met, you know, what do our lawmakers need for us to do to help move that needle forward. As Jeanette mentioned, every elected official is Republican or Democrat, motivated solely, for the most part, by the chance of being unelected. And a lot of times it is important, somebody asked if phone calls work. Yes. They get less afraid to take action on things when they know that a lot of people are interested in it and support them voting however it is that they are scared to vote. Like, if they know that their district has their back on this issue and voting this way is not going to result in them being unelected, they're gonna move on it. That is why making phone calls, that's how making phone calls saved the Affordable Care Act. Like, making the phone ring off the hook in the Senate that year was what made John McCain vote no. His state blew their phones up. They blew up the phones of every senator in the country to get them to not repeal the Affordable Care Act, and it worked by one vote. And to this day, you can talk to any of our senators who were there at the time. Never again has anybody matched the volume of calls into the Senate that came in to save the Affordable Care Act. That is how powerful it is just to pick up the phone and call. And when we organize ourselves together around specific issues, which is why I want everyone to write down what their most pressing issue is right now, we can set up, you know, that day where this person is doing a social media storm where they're posting about it, and these people are making calls, and these people are sending emails, and these people are waving signs. We can put together those collective action days so that what we're doing both brings awareness and seeks results, and is effective.
I was gonna say too, and also when you're talking about what you're discussing and what the bill is and what the title of it is, please know what you're talking about. Cause like, I'll never forget, when they were talking about the Affordable Care Act, during the time when President Obama was there, they were interviewing a person, this was on television. And she said, she didn't, huh?
No, you better say, don't take away my Obamacare.
She didn't want the, she didn't like Obamacare because she had the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act.
It's all in the name.
So all of us are laughing, but it was.
Don't tell me because I'm a nurse, I don't need.
But I'm saying they make this statement, so when you're talking about something.
Research.
The Obamacare Act and the Affordable Care Act is the same thing, it's just that they called it him because he was in office at the time.
Right.
Whoever's in office, that's what they're gonna call it, but you need to know that it's the same thing before you, I don't think you all do it, but tell your friends too, cause I'll never forget that, she was proud to say that.
Yeah, and so that's another good point. When you go to a protest, if in the media is there, for example, there is a spokesperson, and it is this person followed up by these people. So if you are saying that if the protest is about the Black Lives Matter movement, you're going to direct them to the person who organized the protest. And then if you look like me, if they try to get you on camera and speak to you, which they probably will, you're gonna step aside and have them speak to the people that are directly affected by this issue. Just get out of the way. Riverside High School students. This is not, I wanna be very clear about this. The one today, it's gonna be a little peaceful rally right there in front of his office. It's not on the main road. That they don't have a permit. They don't need one really. Nobody actually needs one, but as far as protest safety is concerned, I'm not going to an actual real deal protest that doesn't have one. You're asking to get arrested. Just because you have civil rights doesn't mean they won't violate them. That is the first thing you need to keep in your mind when you leave your house to go to a protest. Know what your rights are and expect them to be violated throughout the day. And know who you're supposed to call when that happens. Anyway, the kids will be fine. It's gonna be a small group of them over at Austin Scott's office. And like I said, they're gonna do some sign waving. That's in a little enclosed area. This is why I directed them from Watson Boulevard to over there, aside from it being a federal issue, because you cannot just pop up alongside Watson Boulevard and not have the cops come. That's a state road. So.
To save time, again, couldn't these issues and information be sent as an email to all of us?
It will be, yes,
Great.
but I also promise everyone a group discussion. Amanda has the
Sure,
link
and
to
the
the
other thing
presentation.
too is with the.
You said there's a website, and you can kind of.
There is, she's got it, it's gonna be in the minutes, but we're going over it because there's been a lot of group discussion about it, and if you don't wanna stay for this, that's okay.
We need a discussion.
50 states.
I am gonna back out. This is my first meeting. I am gonna back out though. I wasn't expecting to be here for
Yeah,
almost
my
2 hours.
daughter, my
But
husband.
I said here, it was informative and I appreciate everyone's time. I didn't wanna just.
No,
go
you're
out of here,
good, it's
so.
okay, so our meetings are super, kind of flowy, as you can tell, we have a lot of group discussion and whatever else. So never feel like it's not okay to come in or go.
I was gonna ask.
It's a long meeting.
There was a few people in Atlanta, but they didn't have an ask, and so why are they protesting the federal government?
It was 4.
Okay.
The Georgia 5051 protest was.
Yeah, I didn't understand
legitimately-
that.
There wasn't a
It
point
seemed
to
to
it.
be okay at the end, but I could also email.
They didn't ask for anything. The protest
And we'll ask the issues that they want.
I can't remember the issues that
I'm sorry.
No, I'm serious, there wasn't, like, if you go to the website, they set up, there wasn't, it was just like resist.
They got immediate attention.
And what came out of that? The news covered them for a day.
I know what you're saying, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying that they got out of this press conference.
Remember you took conflict
Which
of
we made them. I don't know about that.
They didn't ask for anything.
If I may, my point to that.
Keep in mind that they're flooding the zone. His
hear
news
your,
coverage is drowning out anything about that.
I hear your point, but after
So we
a
do it
while, if you know, everybody gets all, you know, up in arms and gets the band up and everything, you know, we're gonna have prejudice here, prejudice, and there's no objective, there's no, you know, specific ask for what you're doing, after a while, it's the little boy who cried wolf.
It reduces the power
It
of.
reduces the
protest.
power of the protest. That's.
It makes protest an ineffective tool when we just go out there and throw things out and
Right.
we have to, like, a specific demand is required for an effective protest.
What about that one that I'm hearing about on a lot of the different news programs that's taking place on President's Day? 50 capitals, and they're wanting it to people to come out into the streets to actually say, this is not my president. Protesting Elon Musk's involvement in what's going on right now. And it's been talked about on quite a few different news networks, and so, to go. And so is that something that we're saying is not a good protest, or what, if I'm hearing it from?
It's not an organization.
I'll get jumped in my neighborhood.
Who's organizing it? Who are they asking? Because of the
I don't
flyers that
remember
are
what it was. I'm
I'm
having a real hard time right now, but,
No,
One at a time, please.
I've seen the flyers, I'm making the point, not begging the question of you, just to, so the ones I've seen are like, you know, show up at your state house, or your city hall, or your, or DC if you can make it, and just,
Somebody
organized
it where all people.
well, for all, yeah, because.
that was on Reddit, and Georgia's Reddit subthread literally said that they did not have an organizer. Like, the person that was supposed to be organizing it posted it, was like, I've never done this before, I didn't get it, yeah, it was on Reddit.
I don't know about, I don't know a Reddit thing or anything for that, I just have been hearing
The
it.
50-51 is also, but 50-51 is not an actual thing, like, it's a no-name person from Reddit that set up a bunch of Reddit threads.
I don't
and
know
now
about that.
It is.
I know, I'm just saying,
What's the
I know,
coverage?
I'm just saying, I don't know about, I'm trying to say, I don't know who's connected with it. I just know that I've been hearing it for different news things that I've been listening to and reading. And it's like, okay, well, there's obviously a common thread here, but they're speaking about it. But I haven't gotten so deep in it to know all of that stuff, but I know that there's supposed to be something going on in all 50 states, and that the media is talking about.
That's
there's gonna be coverage of it.
Yeah, I mean, to
So,
take to the
but it's
streets and just be
specifically
like,
about
Elon's
Elon
not our
Musk.
president. If it were me, which our local flyer specifically does say, like, show up at 1 of 3 places that are all randomly scattered. If it were me, I would go to the one today, outside Austin Scott's office. Put that on your sign, leave that as your letter, call back on Tuesday when their office opens, because all these places that we're protesting on President's Day are closed. Go, and follow up on that ask. Ask specifically what's gonna happen, what he's gonna do about it. We need that, so that there has to be a specific ask, or we can get media attention for anything.
I think what I've garnished from it was that they're wanting to show a mass amount of citizen turnout to show, like with the Women's March during Trump's first inauguration, that huge mass of.
They went out with no specific ask and they accomplished nothing.
I'm just saying, they're trying to show that people are en masse coming out. And so, I just don't know.
If there's no follow-up on that, like there wasn't with the Women's March, if there's no specific demand, there's no continued pressure with any of those things, look what we
lost out.
We accomplished, we didn't accomplish. I'm not a big
I
fan
have
of
to
this, but
leave,
it's
but
not
I
our
have one question. Have you heard anything about March 15th, like shut down? Don't use the phone, the TV, anything like that?
I think I've heard something about it.
March 15th.
The last one I heard about that was across the board,
Right.
was asking you not to do any shopping.
Right.
February the 28th.
Yes, there
And
was 2, but I heard, saw that one too.
February 28th, and they're asking you not to do any shopping at all. If you need something, get it on the 26th or on the 2nd of March. Do not shop anywhere on the 26th.
I'll be on the cruise only to pay margaritas. See y'all. Be good.
It's another thing.
National No Spend Days.
Thank you, Krista.
Request?
Yes.
Evelyn, if you can participate in a National No Spend Day, like February 28th, those are good signs of strength of the economic people, of the American people's power to affect the economy when they don't like something. That is actually a good thing to do. You can do it. That is an effective form of resistance.
Okay, now what is that date since
February 28th.
Okay.
And like I said, you gotta be careful because people are telling you they've seen like 3 other dates. Like February 28th is the date that has been well organized by a large group of people. Yes, you are going to see a bunch of others pop up and say, I scheduled one on this day. February 28th is the one that has a predominant group of people.
Yeah, I know February 28th is what everybody has bought into. There are certain, like people of color, people of different groups have set other dates. Like the Hispanics had a date when we were in DC, the Hispanic had put out a certain date that they were not gonna shop. The Asian Pacific people had put out a date. And you're gonna see more of them because after he came out and got rid of all special emphasis programs like Black History Month, Women's History Month, Asian Pacific Month,
Yes,
Native American. Each of those months are gonna carry either 1 or 2 days of asking you to support that
This
entity.
is just a general
and not
one.
shop.
And this is where a coalition would have been more effective.
Yeah, this is
Okay,
what.
so I don't wanna get hung up on specific
Right.
things right now, where we're doing the broad overview and
Exactly.
we will share the information about things that are well organized and days of action that we can all take. We will. Going forward, we'll provide that probably weekly. You wanna ask your protest person if they have permits? Please keep in mind, if you attend a protest of any kind, or if you take photos, you need to be the only person in them, right? You don't know, somebody might have a federal job and needs to maintain their privacy or whatever else. Maintain their anonymity. Like, I work for a nonpartisan organization, so when I show up at a protest, you're not gonna see my tattoos, probably won't see my hair, right? Like, I'm gonna have on like sunglasses and a mask, and I will be out there putting my body into conversation and lending my physical support. But I'm not gonna do an interview, right? Like, I probably shouldn't. I've got a lot of reason not to. I'll be there. So wear closed-toed shoes, wear long pants, wear long sleeves. Try to bring some sort of glasses or goggles.
I just wanted to thank everybody who's left for allowing me to participate. I appreciate it. Will there be a meeting next month?
Yes.
Yes, third
I'll be
Saturday.
back.
It's the 3rd Saturday at 10:30.
Thank you. Oh. Nice to meet you, young man. What's your name?
Armando.
Armando. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you all.
So, no
Have a
photos.
great rest of the weekend.
Wear protective clothing, know your rights. And Amanda is gonna send y'all out with a full 78-page presentation on knowing your rights as a protester. And it's got a specific section for people with disabilities because in situations of protest and arrest, people with disabilities, First Amendment rights are first to go. Their civil rights are violated fastest because the police and the government can is considered an emergency, right? So there's a specific section in there on that. You'll get a lot of good information, but just overall. So don't take any pictures of anybody other than yourself. Wear protective clothing. Find out if there's permits. Write down the number. You can go on the internet, Google it. Who is your local legal aid society? They're gonna have a phone number. You're gonna wanna write on your arm your emergency contact in Sharpie. Like, this is Protest 101. Emergency contact phone number, legal aid phone number. And keep that on you. Because at any time you go engage in protest, you might be arrested. Is it legal to go out there and express your First Amendment rights? Yes. Once again, the first thing you need to remember is that at some point those will not be respected, most likely. So know what your rights are. Make sure you have a way to contact someone if you are arrested. You know who to call in both scenarios, right?
On that question you were saying, You should write your emergency number on your arms and the local legal aid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Your emergency contact and local legal aid. Make sure that, you're following the direction of whoever is leading the protest. Peaceful means peaceful. You know, stay calm in all of those situations. Make sure that you are peacefully protesting, engaging in civil disobedience and not, a riot. Does that mean that the cops aren't going to violate your rights? No, but it's less likely. So keep that in mind, that you're following the instructions of whomever is leading the movement that day, and that you do need to be making sure that you're engaging in peaceful protest. If the police tell you to leave and you choose not to, which, I mean, a lot of times that is a tactic, right? That you can get great media attention by being told to leave from even a duly organized protest and not leaving. Know at that point that the second that you are still standing there, peaceful or not, and they've told you to leave and you're not leaving, that you're getting arrested. So be willing to do that if you want to stay after they tell you to leave.
We're not the kind of people that'll get a pardon, sorry.
We are not. Most of the time they'll let you go, but not without a hassle.
You say local legal aid.
State level, whatever, Google it. There's a legal aid fine there in the document, because it's from the National Lawyers Guild, so.
Okay.
Yeah. See? Like I said, the other second most important thing is coalitions. Like I said, before we decide to engage in anything, the most important thing is first to check and see who else is doing it. Because if we can lend our support to their movement that is already organized, it saves us from having to organize anything, and then there are more of us, right? So look up and see who's already doing it. There are several.
Much appreciation to the coalition between the Democratic Party, AFG, for the way we were able to go out at the election and right before the election. Much appreciation for making us both stronger together.
We got many coalition partners. AFG is a great one of them. Our local NAACP, we show up obviously as nonpartisans to those events, but we don't necessarily have to be showing up as the Democratic Party when we do this. We're lending our support and our bodies to a movement that's already organized. So we want to stand with our federal workers. We want to stand with our our immigrant organizations. We want to stand with our our LGBTQ community. And for example, Georgia Equality. Find out if you want to do any sort of protesting for any sort of LGBT rights, find out what Georgia Equality is doing. They will have specific instructions. You sign up for their emails on a daily basis about what is going on in the State House, which, if I can impress one thing upon y'all, like I said, all of these executive orders that he's making right now, yes, they are impacting people's lives, they are not legal. This is not going to stick for the most part. So some of it will, some of it is not executive orders that aren't illegal, but
It's not whether it's legal or not, it's whether they're gonna obey.
right, it's the
They
disruption
may
is
not
the
obey the
point.
courts.
However,
That's what I was saying.
However, hang on, our state legislature is only in session 40 days a year. From January, they have 40 working days a year. And our state legislature is making laws that affect all of us while we are not paying attention right now, right?
Exactly.
They just passed, they're working on another, even more restrictive immigration law right now. They're talking about taking away Sunday voting. They're trying to do this tort reform thing that basically takes away our access to the courts if something happens to us. This is what our state legislature is doing. When we weren't paying attention, our state passed an abortion ban. Now, people that live in other states, like, for example, California, they still have access to reproductive care. It doesn't really matter what the federal government does. They enshrine that in their state constitution, right? We don't have the same rights, even though there's no federal ban, because our state legislature changed our state law. Like, we have to pay attention to state law first. I know it's hard to do when there's so much going on, but it is only 40 days. Every year, from January to April. We have to pay attention and focus our efforts on our state legislature while those things are happening, because those are the laws that will change our day-to-day lives immediately.
Somebody is like right now, New York and California are in a battle about the doctor that did the mailing.
Louisiana or Texas you're talking about? You said New York, oh, that they're in the battle with other states.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Let her tell, let her speak, please. She didn't liking us.
About the production, about the abortion law. New York, there's a doctor in New York that has been mailing the medications to other states.
Right.
And those states, one of the states in particular, has, yeah, they're trying to arrest her.
Right.
New York is not, going to expedite her.
Extradite.
Yeah, extradite. She's not participating, so they asked the mayor, the governor of New York, was she disobeying the law? And she told them she was not disobeying her law.
Right.
And as long as the woman is in New York, she can protect her.
That's
But
right.
if she gets in her car and crosses the state line, and somebody is watching her or following her, and they arrest her, there's nothing she can do.
That's correct.
Okay, so the Georgia Senate, by the way, passed another bill that would further criminalize on municipal officials and immigrants 2 days ago. Just
Yeah.
people worry about, like the Lincoln Riley Act, and is it awful? Yes, sure. Georgia state law was already more restrictive than that anyway, y'all. Like nobody's vote on that changed anything about our day-to-day lives. The laws in Georgia were already worse than that, and they just made them worse again 2 days ago.
What did I do again 2 days ago? I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
Changed Georgia's immigration law to add further criminal penalties and additional criminal penalties for even our city workers. Like they will now, if this bill gets through the House, have the ability to strip our city of its sovereign immunity. So like I'm gonna give a really ridiculous example. Let's say, Karen sees a brown person blowing, leaves off of something in a rock, they can sue the city of Warner Robins, which they're not normally able to do. They can sue the city of Warner Robins for letting this immigrant breathe our air, essentially. Like that is what this new law they've passed is capable of.
So how's that gonna impact the employers that employ the immigrants in this country?
City employees will lose sovereign immunity. How's that gonna affect what?
And obviously, is it gonna impact the businesses that actually hire the immigrants that are undocumented?
Sure, some of them are pushing back, right? And so we can look at our, some of our farm workers unions. Jeanette, who are our farmers mostly covered by in Georgia? Or who is their advocacy board? Not the Farm Bureau.
Well,
Is it SEIU? Or is that?
SEIU is, they could fall up on the SEIU, but I know the representative that we have on that committee is Bishop.
So
At
then,
the federal level.
not just city people could be in trouble for it, farms could be in trouble for this, all that, because they're hiring them.
Correct.
And remember that most of the people that you see working, they're saying that the people are coming and taking our jobs.
Yeah.
They're not
But
taking
they're
our
not.
jobs. Because they're taking the jobs that most of us wouldn't take anymore.
Yeah, it's
So-
one.
Yeah.
Well,
Georgia Outlaw and Sanctuary.
Considers those
Like, there's no
black
such
jobs.
thing.
Yeah.
That we go read the language of the bill, it allows them to criminalize individual city employees, individual police officers. Yeah, you can go to jail as a city official and be sued on your own, as well as the city for harboring. It's insane, is what the law is. Anyway, 2 days ago.
I'm not sure if the law does this, but it may take away sovereign immunity across the board. So that you could, so the restrictions that protect cities under law across the board. So it's not just about immigration, it's about Warner Robins being sued because, I don't know, they left the water on.
Yeah, the immigration event would be the trigger.
Right.
For
Yeah.
the rest of the floodgates opening, but yes, it would strip the city of their sovereign immunity.
Yeah.
That just passed through the Georgia Senate, it'll probably pass through the Georgia House too. We're about to have the most restrictive immigration laws in the country. So, the Georgia General Assembly, they make it's not easy. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not gonna hold you and act like it's easy to get this information, it's not. Go to the Georgia General Assembly's website. If you just Google Georgia General Assembly, can go to, every day under the House and the Senate, they publish a calendar. And you can see all the legislation that's up for consideration and everything. Now, if you don't need the information about every single thing that is going on in every aspect of policy in the state, I wouldn't recommend doing this. If this is your issue, sign up for their emails. If this is, if workers' rights are your issue, teachers who use us, sign up for their emails. All of these organizations follow our state legislature. Like, if access to care for cancer patients, which is super niche, is your thing, you can, sign up for ACS CAN's emails. That's where I work. Anyway, so you can also sign up you can follow the Georgia Senate Democrats and House Democratic caucuses on Twitter. They do a really good job of blasting out when there is something of concern that needs to be, called or emailed about.
They use Twitter? Who does that? They use X and Twitter?
Yes.
I deleted that app, so.
Well, here's the thing about that, and I've heard a lot of people be like, well, I deleted X through Elon. Do you know the same dollars actually, like, the same person co-funded his purchase of X as put the first donation into Facebook, as helps fund Blue Sky. Like, that Peter Thiel, he funds all of those. There's not one evil empire. It is.
I can't do
Yeah,
that.
well, I'm
So
not
I
doing
can't
that.
do
It is
that.
all
It's
one
just so
evil
filled with
empire.
so much hatred, I couldn't
I
do it
couldn't do it
anymore.
either.
I curate my
But
news
is
feed,
there
so I only see the
information?
things, I have it set to where I only see notifications from people that I choose to, so I don't see any of the crap on
And
there.
it's in real time.
Yeah, like,
It's quick.
like I said, I've got it curated so I don't see that stuff. I only see what I want to see, and that's helpful for me because I do get the news alerts every time. But you don't have to do that. They're also on Facebook, they're also on Instagram, they also have email lists. One of the best email lists I think in existence, and I wish Mike was still here, but he's not, is Pro Georgia's. They do a daily recap.
The website.
Sign up for Pro Georgia's email list,
It's up there, but I don't have a picture.
and they do like a daily state rundown. They're a really good resource for that. And then they have a Night Owls newsletter as well, where they publish like at the end of every day of the state legislative session.
The Georgia Democrats.
Send me something you like or send it to me.
The top legislative issues they want you to follow.
The Democratic Party of Georgia is Chairman Keenan Williams' weekly newsletter. Anyone can sign up for it, but I will say for the most part, it is not, they don't give you specific action steps a lot, and it's mostly federal issues.
These were all 5 call count.
Good,
Today.
good. She publishes one every Thursday. So, also the Democratic Party of Georgia, if you go to their website, Democratic Party, georgiademocrat.org, and click the news tab, they put out press releases with talking points multiple times a day right now because of everything that's going on at the state and federal level that, shares our position on these issues and how to address them. There is no possible way that us as volunteers, working or full-time caregivers have the ability to push out a daily email series to the committee, but if you have that time, please, volunteer, and I will give you the login, please. But these are other good ways to keep up with it, and I'll start posting, and I get all of them, so I'll start posting in the Facebook group.
Okay.
A lot of times you can like view them on the web and find the sign up button, to sign up for any of those communications there, so I'll start sharing more of that, so that people can get registered for it. Anyway, so don't go to a protest without a buddy either. If you need somebody to be able to tell someone that you've been arrested,
Yes.
you always need a buddy.
Say it again, the buddy.
Don't go to a protest without a buddy. You
Okay.
need someone with you that's gonna be able to account for where you went if something happens. Did you get hurt, maybe? Like, they need to be able to tell someone that you have gone to the hospital, or, did you get arrested? You need a buddy, always, don't go alone. Mutual aid is exactly what it sounds like. Mutual aid is how we build resilience in our own community. It is, based upon the notion that nobody is coming to save us, right? We help us is the basic notion of mutual aid. And some things, you know, the term might sound weird, but like, how many people know what the Cajun Navy is? The Louisiana Cajun Navy. So you guys were. The Cajun Navy is a group of volunteers that have formed a mutual aid society, and when, like, you know, they've got boats and trucks and are able to load up supplies and mobilize quickly to help people in their community when natural disaster strikes, right? The Louisiana Cajun Navy is a mutual aid organization. So we can build that kind of network amongst ourselves. We all know that food is about to get very, very expensive, right? We know that our chances of encountering another pandemic are currently running high. We know that climate change is making natural disasters hit this town and this county much worse than ever before. So we can form our own mutual aid network. You know, who has a truck, right? Who's got a trailer? Who can pitch in a case of water? Do you have a generator? You know, who can run and check on some of our members that can't get out? Who can give somebody a ride to the doctor's office, right? Like, and I might not have time or a truck, but I have money. So I can put that in our, like, emergency fund for groceries, or you know, set up a bail fund. There's a lot that we can do, right? We can create a community food pantry. We can really work together to know what resources that we have on hand so that we can mobilize amongst ourselves when these things happen. And it's always a really good network to have, and especially, I mean, imagine if we had had that, you know, kind of like phone tree set up when COVID first hit. I mean, it would have been so much easier for so many more of us to get by if there had been a way for, you know, somebody to call and say, hey, you know, I'm high risk, and can you, I did a grocery order, can you go pick it up, bring it to my house, you know, that sort of thing.
Are you aware of any resources that help set one of those
People in this room?
Well, yeah, but
Yeah, well, I will pull some,
But like, there's
some language about,
there's
like,
probably a playbook for how to
there is,
get one
there
done.
is, and I will pull that how-to for you, and what she's got to send you today is literally, like I said, it's like 80 pages from the National Lawyers Guild of how to engage in protest, how to set one up, how to keep yourself safe at one, far more in depth than my little sheets here. Again, if you want to engage in something, look and see who else is doing it first. Whatever strikes your mind, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, if you saw something online about it, there's a group that already works on that.
Can I make just an addition, but if you go to somebody else's protest, for instance, I'm working with a man now who wore a shirt, an anti-Trump shirt, when Trump was in Macon. He was assaulted. Police got into it. He ended up in the hospital for 2 days in Macon. Was taken out then and put in jail in Macon for 8 days. Transferred to the jail here for another 12 days. So he was there by himself. He had his cell phone, so he has a recording of it. But he has no money for a lawyer. You know, a lot of different issues. I've been trying to suggest some things for him. But all those things would only help if you're going to one of your protests. So if you're gonna go to somebody else's protest, you gotta be careful and know a lot of the same information about the buddy system and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, what your protest or not, someone else's protest or not, you need all of this information is imperative. If you're the organizer, you need to make sure that you're holding your protest to these standards. You know, if a flyer doesn't have who's organizing it, what it's about, what the demand is, you know, in some capacity, someone to contact ahead of time about who's organizing it. So if there's somebody that you can, you know, email and say, like, hey, like, do we have a first aid station? Is there, you know, any way, is there any accommodations for people with disabilities? Do you have a permit? What do we need? Do you need drinking water? Like that, there should be a contact person on there if it is a safe protest to go to. And you will see many examples throughout the next few years of protests that are, in fact, that well organized. But
I would
my
say.
next, one last, before I lose the thought in my brain.
Oh, yeah.
Never wear anything with a political statement on it to a protest.
Right.
Never. It just makes it easier to identify.
That's exactly what I was gonna say, basically.
an
You know,
assault.
if you've got a friend, if you're a friend, and they're gonna go to a Trump rally wearing something anti-Trump, they're gonna get in trouble.
Particularly for counter protests,
yeah,
never.
There's other things to do, I would tell them to stay away. I would never,
But this was after the fact, he came to our food pantry, he needs food, you know.
No, we're not judging, we're giving preventative tips for, but like you talking about, yeah, not criticizing him.
I would I would never go to a Trump rally. I would tell anybody else to stay away from Trump rally. I mean, it's just a no-win situation.
It almost felt like that at the fair.
So to Gene's point, counter protests are inherently more dangerous. Anyway, so we will give out the information about how to form a mutual aid society. There are some many examples in our community, like Between Friends Coffee. There's a community food pantry there where groups organize and fill
There's
that
a
up.
whole list already available,
Yes, there is.
printed. You can pick up.
Yes. So we'll work on getting that out as well, so that we can start figuring out what already exists and how we contribute to what already exists. Because there is, Mike is actually also a really good resource for that because he compiles community resources as part of his organization's mission, so. We will work on getting you more information about what mutual aid already exists and how we can get engaged in it. And we will start giving out, like lists of actions that we can take, things that do work. Protest is meant to be like a radical direct action tool. So, I know some people have talked about, just kind of doing pop-up things and all of that, but if you pop up and you have a demand, but you have not taken the first step, which is to call that person's office and ask if they will give you what you want, then they're gonna be like, they kind of dismiss things outright. They've not heard from constituents about it in advance. Two, the only other thing I would say is when you're doing something like making calls or sending emails, while those systems that populate the emails for you or make the calls for you on an auto dialer are great, most Congress people, including good old Austin Scott, have a block on those systems. Send your email yourself from your personal email. Copy it and paste it into your own email account if you need to, and send it from your personal account rather than sending it through ResistBot or whatever else. They have a filter that blocks those from coming in. So are our state laws.
I still get some emails from
so
off.
copy whatever text is in there and put it in an email from your personal email address and identify yourself as a constituent and send it that way so it doesn't hit their spam filter because they all have one. When you call, don't use a dialer. They can, they know it's a dialer on the back end. Like don't do one of the things, like I said, like the app where you just push the button and it shoots you off. Like they know what's happening on the other end. Like they can see the number that comes up. Like it doesn't route from a local number. Call from your own phone.
Why does it show on my phone that I actually made a phone call? When I look at my most recent calls, it shows that I dialed it.
The same way that it does when I dial a number through Google's Voice and it routes it through another thing, but it shows up in my phone as I made that call, even though it didn't come from my number. It's a software. It's a
I will say,
routing.
by using it, I have received phone calls back from every one of the calls I've done.
Good.
So they aren't blocking, at least they haven't blocked mine when I'm using that.
But they don't necessarily, there's not really a good way to block the calls, but they know where they're coming from on the other end. Like, they know that is like an automatic tactic kind of thing. And they're more likely to disregard those calls than they are if you're just literally dialing one word called.
Like I said, I've been fortunate enough that every day I get a phone call back that they pass the calls on.
Yeah, and so all of those groups, so like 5 calls and all of that, I mean, those are, they're PACs, they're 501c4s, so they do fundraising off of all of this, they know that is a paid engagement strategy, we can call it that way, so. It's the caller ID shows that, and now speaking as someone who literally uses those tools in her job to route phone calls to our state legislator's office, I do it, right? I set up those campaigns that have those automatic emails and those automatic phone numbers, right? And sometimes doing it that way is better than doing it no way at all, but if you as an individual are willing to make those calls and send those emails, just know that it's more effective if it comes from your number and your email address. Because a lot of times they're just like, they ran calls on us and ignore us, right? And they're like, oh, who paid for the calls today, type thing. That like, it doesn't come across, it comes across as like, I set that up, not, and asked you to care about it, not like you genuinely cared about it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But the dialers that are using call centers are
They
gonna show up
suspect
like
us
that, right?
immediately, like they suspect your 501c.
So there's dialers that use call centers or exchanges to route the calls from your phone through them to, like when we're doing phone banking, that kind of thing, right? But I suspect some of the apps, just because you're on a smartphone, you just dial your phone and
I
make
just
the
have mine in
connection
my
from your
smartphone.
phone without rerouting it through a central.
Yeah, you can just get the phone, I mean, the congressional switchboard to reach everyone's representative has one number. At the Georgia State Capitol, there's one number for the governor and individual numbers for their offices. And
And if you go to MVP.sos.ga.gov, you can get all those numbers directly.
right, well, you get their name, you can go to their pages after that and kind of pull it up. To get your congressman's office, you can go to congress.gov and type your congressman into the search bar, and it'll give you their office locations and their phone number for each office.
Put it on your smartphone.
And save the number in your phone, so that next time it's easy enough just to click on it and be like, call Sam Bishop. Because it is more effective when it seems like it's organic than it is when they know that one of us has put dollars behind getting to do that. What else? Any questions? Because I feel like this is just like an overload of information. We've been here for a while.
It's good.
It is
It's
good.
good.
It's good, it's good, it's good.
Is there a mutual aid already set up in Warner Robins?
There is. There are several. We'll send that out. There's a network that exists that's kind of got, a list of everything that's available, the food banks, and
Housing, employment, health.
Yes.
There's a brochure that covers all of that.
and then how you can contribute to it. So we will figure
It's a little
out.
bit different than what she's talking about. It's good to give local. It's a resource.
Yeah, well, we'll get all that information out, but yes, there are, like I said, the, Between Friends Coffee runs a community food bank on their own. They have a little, anybody can come up and drop things off or take things as they need them right outside there. So you can always take donations if you have them over to Between Friends, and they'll put them in the box, and that's, gonna directly help someone in the community. I think We Care Heating and Air also has one, but they're Republicans, just FYI. So I'm like, I'd rather.
Who's Republican?
We Care Heating and Air is one of our Republicans.
Yes.
So now, that's not to knock the work in the community, I'm just saying, I go put myself in the Democrats' box, what was I
Yes.
for?
That's what I was saying.
It is good community work, and that box is important to the community, so if you do put things in it, for 50, it does help. Oh, what else? Anyway, the state legislature is in session until April 4th. So the biggest struggle, is not, is at our state level, like, right, like, they pass bills every day that
Can I
change
tell
the
you
laws in
what?
our state.
This is really waking me up because I really have written off local. I mean, I don't even wanna read, I hate to say that, but I just thought, if I ever move, I just thought Georgia is just, and I know we got 2 senators that are Democrat, but I thought, I still think that's a fluke, and if we don't fight, they're gonna lose those seats.
Yeah, we
Oh,
always
yeah. So
organize
one
it
thing about that,
down.
I think Kamala Harris lost the state of Georgia by 160,000 votes. That ain't a whole lot of votes. There's 150 some
Well, I think
counties.
we have the opportunity,
I
I
mean,
just
so-
think we're not very organized.
And he's shooting himself in the foot. There's a whole lot of folks right now that probably wouldn't vote for Trump yet if they had a chance to now. So, I mean, you have to stay at it. I don't think you can write off anything. Especially
This has
Georgia.
taught me that, I really.
Especially Georgia. So-
Well, we only lost, we lost Georgia because of campaign issues, like, we had, state, not in this county, because this county is, our county is not like a lot of others, like, we have the privilege of people like Miss Cynthia's daughter, who have been organizing in actual movement work for decades, who have been kind enough to offer us spaces and knowledge, and to really kind of train us up to be effective organizers and to know how to do everything at our board of elections and everything else, right? So, and people like Jim and Jean and everyone else who kept things running during the pandemic when the entire thing had disappeared, right? So we've got a lot of like, you've got an entire wall of local, like, bona fide civil rights icons right there. All those people are from Houston County. Second row down, Rutha Jackson, like, she was one of the first people to integrate schools in Perry. One of the first students to cross that line into the white school in Perry. I mean, like, really phenomenal leadership in this county. And the fight has been long, but, you know, we start to see results, like the DOJ taking up this case to remake our county commission. Anyway, all that said, our county did not backslide in the vote. Our county actually brought in every vote that we brought in for Joe Biden, for Kamala, and then an extra 1%. So we made progress, but most of the state, like all but, I wanna say like 140 counties lost ground, right? We were not one of them, but
never have started.
we are unique in that we have a crazy amount of resources, right? But the campaign at the state level this year was phenomenally poorly run, and the messaging was off, and people stayed home. There are not, they do not outnumber us, let me say that. If we had turned out our same numbers as we had in 2020, his campaign turned out fewer than they did in 2020. We could have whooped that man from one side of the country to the other. We didn't, because the broader campaign's organizing strategy was a little flawed, and the messaging
And it was a
did not
short
go well.
time, he should never start.
Well,
They
there was a
could've won.
full
It wasn't a
presidential
messaging.
campaign, yeah.
Yeah, it was a messaging.
Yeah, I mean, like, he handed her a fully funded, fully functional campaign apparatus that she'd already ran on 4 years prior, right? And she was on the ballot before, so we can't really say like it's a timeline.
No.
And I say this as someone who went to the DNC, you know, to the convention as a Harris delegate. It wasn't that, it was the advisors that they hired after it transitioned from Biden to Harris. They hired some of the Obama bros, for lack of a better way to put it, and some of the strategy that came out after that.
I think what's important for us all to realize is that what Trump is doing is hurting people in our community. And it's hurting people in red states more than blue states.
That's right.
Yeah,
what I
And
they're not identifying with that. They're yet to say.
I think it's important, like for instance, the base and what's happening in the base affects this community. And the people that stayed home or maybe weren't sure what they were gonna do, they're gonna be woken up. You know, when we use the term woke, that's what we need to talk about, is waking these people up.
Now, I have a question for you, Jim. Now, these people who signed those, fake, what those things called?
Fake electors?
No, for the federal employees, what they call
The
them?
dismissal letters or?
No, what they call it,
Resignation.
buyouts. Okay, now, when everything is settled, but do you think that the courts will allow those people's paperwork to be void and they can be?
Technically, they resigned.
Some of them did get paused at 4 o'clock on Friday by Judge Chapman. Some people's were like, just kidding, like you're not, you know.
Like our nuclear experts.
It's gonna depend, but will all of them go through? No. Will a lot of them go through? Yes.
I think what's important though, too, with that is we are potentially facing a constitutional crisis.
Yes, we are.
And we really are, because if the Trump government doesn't obey the court orders, which they don't have to, they could choose not to. They could say, we are superior to the courts in deciding things.
The Supreme Court gave them.
Even the Supreme Court. Because like Andrew Jackson said, well, they made the ruling, let them enforce it. And if that is their approach, this country's going into chaos, but you have to understand that there are gonna be local people that are gonna be upset by this, because it's gonna affect them, just like the prices of eggs are affecting everyone.
Right.
And
Well,
so
and not
I would
only that,
say,
but
you know, but back to the point about ignoring local government. One, if we do end up in a constitutional crisis, we automatically, you know, and the federal government, for whatever reason, crumbles. We're going to talk worst case scenario. We are then an unaffiliated group of state
Governments.
pay attention to what your state government is doing. It could be the only law
I would also
in the land, right?
I'd also like to say.
It's almost safer to ignore the federal government than it is to ignore your state government.
Your voice goes further with your state, like when you're speaking to your state legislatures, your voice just has more weight because you are one of 2
It
million,
just
you're not
seemed
one
to
of
me I
300
was living in an echo chamber.
Yeah.
Wait,
let her finish. Yeah, I mean,
They're having the same
the things that
conversation.
are actually happening here, like, like Kristen was saying, your immigration state law, you're under Georgia state law before you're under US federal law. What we actually pass here is gonna be the law that you're really living under before you're living under federal law. And the people that you hear from, your state legislatures, your state reps, you're one of a smaller number of constituents they actually have. So your voice actually is proportionately more important.
Yeah, and because we have tiered representative government, there's another aspect that I want everyone to consider that maybe they don't when thinking about whether or not outreach is helpful. If you blow up your state representative's phone line about, any particular issue, they are going to call your congressman. And their voice is weightier than yours because they've been elected to represent all of us, right? So putting that pressure on our local officials, for example, to put pressure on our state officials, to put pressure on our federal officials, is also a very useful tactic. Now, like I said, screaming in front of City Hall on a day that they're closed about fascism is not going to motivate our state, or our City Hall to do anything other than call me and be like, please help. So, we redirected that, and that's good, but, these big issues, if people are losing their, if you've lost your job, call your state legislator and tell them, and call your congressman too, but your state legislator's gonna be like, yo, I'm getting a lot of phone calls from these people, what are we gonna do, right? Cause just the same as, if you've kept up with any of, the chaos going on at the party at large or whatever, like, crap rolls downhill. Right, so like, as far as like the things that have been going on at DPG, which are several levels, at least one level removed from me, in the chair's office, and those concerns about what is the party doing, what is the party doing, party's communications aren't good, what is the campaign doing? I'm your pressure point for that. Right, so like, I get all the phone calls, the texts, the emails, they're like, when everything is going to crap or whatever, they call me. And I'm the one who turns around and calls, or Courtney calls, or Jean calls our state officers, and we're like, we don't fix this right now. I've gotten 35 phone calls today, and I've actually had that conversation with them. Those are the kind of things that prompt them to make change. So, for example, me calling and all of taking all of y'all's concerns and all the issues that we had with poll watching, everybody getting wrong shifts, and everything being a disaster, which is what the state done. Me taking all that information, aggregating it, and going back to the state and being like, fix it or fire someone, because I am a state committee member. Like, I do have voting rights at the state level as well for some of our issues. And so is Courtney and Amanda and Rodney. If you ever need to take a concern up to the state level, come to one of us and we will definitely aggregate that for you. And we have the ability to vote on it. So, all that said, the big fuss that we made about the way that the voter protection was messed up this year has resulted in our state director of voter protection actually came down shortly after the election, and I met her over at Sapling Board. And we sat down and talked about all the issues that we had and what I had heard from our members, other counties, and everything else. So what they've done is set up a new program that they're executing right now with periodic phone calls where they are revamping the voter protection program to avoid having those issues next time. So because I heard from y'all, I took it to them, and things are actually, the changes is literally, and Carolyn can tell you because she gets those emails as well as one of our county liaisons. They are meeting with counties, both at the individual liaison level and at the county chairs level right now to hammer out issues ahead of 2026. And that is not something that we had seen a willingness to do before. I mean, we had the same issues in 2020 and 2022. They just got much worse in 2024. But putting that pressure back on them has worked to actually make things change. So it works. You know, like talk to your people, it works. Those phone calls work, those emails work. You know, they might, you know, you might not always get a response, but they saw it, their staffer, whoever their staffer is like, you know, talking to the member and it's like, oh my God. So just an example of how quickly things can change when a concern is brought up. I saw in WMAZ the article about funding being cut for Starbase Robins, the kids STEM program locally. We know that Senator Ossoff is on the subcommittee for appropriations for whether or not that program necessarily is under his purview, I'm actually not sure. But he does have something to do with like military funding for the VA and everything else at this point. So his political director reaches out to us a lot. And he called me occasionally himself, but you know, whatever. I just told Kyle, I was like, hey, Kyle, I need help with this. This program is important to people locally. What can the senator do, if anything? And by the next day, you probably saw me post it, they had taken action on it and then got coverage of the action that they had taken published in WMAZ. I saw something that I didn't like that was affecting our community. I called our senator's staff person and was like, hey, this is gonna cause problems for you in 2026 if we don't do something about this here. This provides, you know, over 2,000 local kids with STEM education to figure out how to fix it. Boom, done. It's back on the agenda. Like the funding for that is back on the agenda, and then there's been some additional things included. So he is able to pressure people in those positions in a way that I am not capable of, right? And staffers are always the best people to know. Like what Phyllis said was absolutely correct. You can accomplish anything if the staff likes you. So whether or not you agree with them philosophically or politically or anything like that, be nice to the staff person and you will get better access. So,
I'm gonna move to adjourn.
Can we see whatever this was, or what is?
Will you take a look at that after?
Okay.
We're gonna take that, and yeah, go ahead and take a look at it. We're gonna take that and put together some action days around it and list out ways that, you know, everyone can take action. You know, not everybody can come to a protest, but they might be able to do this or that. We're gonna put together some specific days of action. And Bill.
So just to kind of play off your point, so the big thing that really freaks me out, even constitutional crisis aside, right now, Doge and Musk and his goons are speed running through federal agencies, cutting funding, getting rid of people, and looting the data, and a lot of that stuff can't be undone no matter who goes at him legally or otherwise. You can't put those genies back in the bottle because there are irreversible decisions already being made to the level that the flooding the zone is massively real on a lot of those levels. And like your one example is great, but there's other things, and you can't even keep on top of it. There's just so much of it. So it's easy to be overwhelmed, but I think if we can reduce those to what are the local impacts. When we talk to people who are not voting the way we were in the last election, and they're impacted, getting them to make calls as well, to talk to their representatives about how they were impacted by those decisions, I think applies a lot more pressure because now they're getting it from all sides.
No, Republicans call their phones.
Well,
But yeah, the motivate them to call them about negative things, they're actually far more likely to contact their lawmakers than us, which is why they campaign on very specific things that are very important to specific groups of people, and then they accomplish it.
But when you're talking to somebody with a point of view like that, and they complain about something that they've been impacted by, why not encourage them to make those
Tell them how
Yes.
to do it,
Yeah,
On that note about, you know, they call theirs more than we do.
Yes.
I misspoke earlier when I was talking about somebody wanting contact. It actually was from State Senator Walker, who wants his constituents to reach out to him and let him know how much they support this SB 68 or whatever number that is.
Yes.
That's what I know about.
They are fishing for support.
They want the support so they can go and say, when they do this to us, that, well, all my constituents wanted it. And so that, it was, the State Senator Walker who wants that. So I plan on letting them know I'm not for it, because you asked me to call you anyway.
Exactly, and do that,
Yeah.
because that's actually Governor Kemp, there's Senator Walker oversees that my activity that, like, I'm their community finance. Like, he runs their PAC, their leadership PAC. Right, and that's what they want. He's having Senator Walker spend money to fund a PAC of the Republicans that are not on the board.
I move we adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Amanda, if you would like to have your profile picture updated on chat reaction, start with AI, so you've got the code captions.